Welcome to Time Travelling Team, the podcast where we review every story of Doctor Who right from the very beginning. I'm Tricia.
And I'm Paddy. In this week's special Rambling in the TARDIS, we are going to do something a little different by stepping away from the Doctor's time-travelling adventures to instead discuss Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, which is actually our second time in this particular verse because the Mythmakers covered the Iliad, just kind of.
Ish.
Yeah.
We'd also love to hear your thoughts on the Odyssey, on our thoughts on the Odyssey. So as always, you can reach out to us via our socials at TimeTeamp, that's TimeTeamp, or you can email us at timetravelingteam@teamproductions.com. Now, in terms of how this conversation is going to go, me and Paddy was talking about this a second ago. What I prefer that we do is we give our initial thoughts on the movie. You know, Did we like it? Did we not like it? I don't think we're going to give it a ranking. I don't know if you have a star rating in your mind. And then we go through the top 3 things we liked, the top 3 things we didn't like, and then we'll do a bit more of a sort of like scene by scene run through of the film so we can discuss things in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
Because it's a 3-hour film, there's a lot in it.
Yeah. I will say one thing in its favour. I did not feel the 3-hour runtime.
I felt it a little bit towards the end, but that was mainly because I had to pee.
Yeah, you had the Martin Pearson Lou Break song stuck in your head.
Yeah. But actually, no, I would agree with you in terms of general flow. I thought it went quite well in terms of timing. So look, I did the socials, but I am going to put the question to you first.
Okay.
General high level thoughts on the film. Now it's been 2 days since we've watched it. So
okay.
time recording this.
So. Okay, the best way I can do this is another movie in this particular vein has been seen a recent upsurge in discussion, and that's 2004's Troy. So I see people kind of breaking it down to 2 things. So I'll do the same with the Odyssey. My personal opinion of Troy is that as a Greek sort of historical epic movie, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's got a couple of good scenes. The whole movie is really anchored by Eric Bana. Like, perfect choice for Hector. As an adaptation of the Iliad, it's fucking terrible. It's woeful. For Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, as a movie, as a sort of like a Greek mythological adventure film, it's enjoyable. It is. There's a lot of stuff in it that I liked, and there's some beautiful design choices that were made. And overall, I think as a movie, it's good. It's a great epic movie. As an adaptation of the Odyssey, though, it's lacking more than I would have liked to have been. Because I would have thought that for a guy that, look, I'm not the biggest Nolan stan in the world, but I appreciate his movies. He's done some fantastic stuff. And if you take the whole Dark Knight trilogy out of things, like Dunkirk is one of his best films. It was a fantastic movie. It was so well done. The same with The Prestige, the same with the likes of Memento and Inception. And I was thinking that he could take that storytelling, that scale of thing that he does, and apply it to the Odyssey. And with the 3-hour runtime, and he seemed to have all the backing, there's an awful lot of meat from the meal missing, as it were. So as a movie, it's good. Like, I highly recommend it. If you're looking for a great adaptation of the Odyssey, this is not what you're looking for.
Yeah. So going into this film, there was a couple of things that I was concerned about. One is I'm not the biggest Nolan fan. I think he lives so far up his own hole that it's beyond ridiculous. And I think so much hype is given to the fact that it's his film rather than the film itself. I don't like people like that. It irritates the shit out of me. And again, you've got like the fucking stands who will just say, "Oh my god, it's the best thing since sliced bread." Fundamentally, I agree with you. I think as a film, I think it works fine. I don't think it works very well as an ancient Greek film. I think it works as a medieval Greek film. That's more to do with the clothing choices.
Okay.
Um, I think as a film, it's fine. It's some amazing cinematography, his use of forced perspective and stuff like that. Like clearly a lot of time and effort and love went into it.
Mhm.
I just wish he put the same amount of time and effort and love into the script as he did into the mechanics of it. I've seen some behind the scenes clips where he'd actually on a whiteboard drawn out all the islands and like the
Mhm.
route that Odysseus. Clearly, this was a passion project.
Mhm.
But what really comes across to me watching it, and again, like I love Dunkirk as well. A couple of other Nolan films, like it's Interstellar, I really enjoyed. A
Mhm.
couple of other ones as well. What I would say to people going into this film is it's Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And the first two words in that sentence are very important. It's
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. This isn't the story of Odysseus, it's the story of Christopher Nolan. Because there's so much of what he did to Oppenheimer present in this film. Like, you could take Odysseus and Oppenheimer and they're effectively the same person.
Okay. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, so I can't comment on that.
Yeah, but basically, it's a film that builds on what Christopher Nolan has done in the past.
Okay.
And as a Christopher Nolan film, it's quite good. To your point, as an adaptation of the Odyssey, and we'll get into it more when we get into like sort of more scene by scene breakdown, I think it's lacking. And I would recommend it for fans of Christopher Nolan. I would probably recommend that fans of the Odyssey watch it as well, but more so as um, a conversation starter.
Yeah.
As this is one man's interpretation of the world, not as this is the best
Yeah.
adaptation from A to B. Like
It.
you and I, you were big fans of Rick Riordan and the Percy Jackson verse or whatever. Percy Jackson did the Odyssey. It's called Percy Jackson: The Sea of Monsters.
Mhm.
Um, but if you think about the way some people really loved Percy Jackson: The Lightning Thief, the
Mhm.
first movie. They didn't really know a whole lot about the books, but they loved the first movie. And in
Mhm.
fairness, the first Percy Jackson movie as a movie is kind of fun. It's kind of fun to watch, and it does its own thing. As an adaptation of the book, though, it was severely lacking.
Mhm.
And I would sort of equate this in the same way that, like, as a film,
Yeah.
it's really good. As an adaptation of the book, not so much.
The best way the way I would put it is that that as an adaptation of the Odyssey, this is a gateway drug for, I would say, adults who are interested in Greek mythology but have never seen it played out or whatever. This movie is a good introduction to some of the stuff in it that can lead to further discussion, as you said.
Yeah. What I find interesting about that, though, is that one of the reasons why this film was made is that, like, in recent years, and yeah, this has sort of come in waves over the last number of years, but I think particularly Madeline Miller's Solid Achilles really
Mm.
sort of brought it back into the forefront of people's minds. Um, and not even when when the book first came out, but like there was a resurgence in popularity about it a couple of years
Yeah.
ago. Um, Greek mythology retellings, Roman mythology retellings are very popular and
Mhm.
have been for the last, God, 8 to 10 years ish.
Like they kind of come in waves because every so often I think someone, like some big A-list celebrity slash director that's involved in a comic book movie will point to the origins of comic book characters as modern day
Yeah,
Greek mythical heroes.
yeah,
At which point, then people might kind of go, "Oh, I wonder what he's talking about," and then they'll pick up a story about Jason or a story about Theseus or the assholes.
yeah,
But,
yeah. But what I find interesting though is that like in the last 10 years,
hmm,
uh, novel retellings of Greek
yes,
stories have become way more popular.
Yeah.
Again, like, you can't see it, those of you listening, but like this entire shelf of my
Yeah.
of my library is all just
Yeah. Like.
retellings of Greek myth. Um, and so it's interesting that this came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it will encourage people to delve back into it. But it's interesting that as opposed to it being the inception point,
Mm-hmm.
inception, it being the inception point for people exploring Greek mythology,
Mm-hmm.
it's coming at like a weird point on the curve
Mm-hmm.
where people are already doing it. You've got things like Hades Town, you've got Epic, you've got, again, all of these books and novels that
Mm-hmm.
are like, people, like, how many, I mean, you go into any bookstore,
Mm-hmm.
how many Greek retellings,
Yep.
I say Greek slash Roman retellings are in there at the
Mm-hmm.
moment. So I find it interesting that it's coming at this point where so many people are already so invested in rediscovering these stories. And I do hope that it leads more people to checking out, like I said, do you prefer, and like, you and I kind of talked about this briefly previously, like, do you prefer the Iliad and the Odyssey in verse or in narrative?
Mm-hmm.
Which, because you can get both.
Yeah.
You're a verse person,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. But some people prefer the narrative format, like Stephen
Yeah.
Fry and whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so I agree with you. I hope that this starts spinning up more.
Yeah. Because
Um, but yeah,
Emily Wilson, who wrote the translation that Christopher Nolan used as a frame of reference, has recently come out and has, I won't say lambasted the movie, but has expressed her disappointment with.
I would say lambasted.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but like she hasn't been kind to it. I'll go that
No.
way. And she has said like that it fails to understand a lot of the themes. It fails to understand some of the character beats, some of the character journeys. But she did say she appreciates the fact that he has used his platform to create this
Yeah.
movie that can lead to the discussions that we're going to have. Well, like we have these discussions anyway. But I actually saw a cool story of in one of the IMAX theaters in the States, the projector broke. And so what happened? Apparently, there was a college professor in attendance, and he stood up and he said, "Anyone here not familiar with the story?" And apparently, he started to kind of give a retelling of the Odyssey to people as a sort of a vamp, like an MC for the evening. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if you think about the big, like, I think this is going to be one of the big Greek films. The big, like, whatever.
Mhm.
You've got the Ray Harryhausen stuff.
Yeah.
Um, you've got like the more modern Clash of the Titans, but I think the Ray Harryhausen stuff is going to live on long past. No
Oh,
offense to Liam Neeson and all those guys, but I think the Ray Harryhausen versions are going to live on.
well, yeah, because Ray Harryhausen, his filmmaking was groundbreaking at the time.
Mm,
And if you take a look at how far we've come in terms of our technology and everything, there is stuff that's being churned out now that looks so bad in
mm,
comparison to what Ray Harryhausen was able to do
yeah,
across the Greek movies, the Sinbad movies, anything that he was involved in.
yeah. So you have those. You've got like Jason the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans, and I think this does belong with those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I'll talk about it a little bit in terms of the things that I love, but so much of this was practical.
Yeah.
Even Charybdis
Mm-hmm.
was practical. They had jet skis going round and round in circles,
Yeah.
doing donuts, trying to create the whirlpool. It was practical. The forced perspective with the Lystragonians was
Yeah.
practical. The guy playing Polyphemus was practical. Like, so much
Yeah.
of it was practical
Mm-hmm.
that I think from that point of view, and also just because Christopher Nolan's um, um, prestige that he's held in general,
Yeah.
I think this probably will be up there
Mm-hmm.
with them. But like those Ray Harryhausen movies, the adaptation from the source material isn't exactly correct. You
Yeah.
know, like the whole idea of in Clash of the Titans, a kraken.
Yeah.
How the fuck did it?
Release the Quacken.
Yeah. But look, let's jump into our more specific thoughts on, again, still staying quite general, I think. So,
Yeah.
like I said, we'll do our top 3 things that we loved and top 3 things that we didn't love. Do you want to do the normal version where we do the things we didn't love first and then we do the things we love next? Or
Yeah, because I think, look, as any of our regular listeners know, we are really big into our Greek myths. Like, we're big into mythology in general, but we're big into our Greek myths. And we're probably going to pick apart scenes as we go on. So I think to, rather than have it just be like, like, what is it? A shit Sunday with a nice little cherry on top. It's like, let's just try and break it up a bit
okay,
with the positive. So yeah, we'll go with the standard format, which is what we didn't like, then what we liked, and then we'll discuss.
cool. So I'll go first on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell everyone a funny story. So me and Paddy saw this film on Sunday, right? It's currently July 28th as we're recording this. Don't know when I'm going to post this because July 28th we're recording it. And the film ended.
Mm-hmm.
Credits began to roll. And I turned to Paddy. The word is Xenia. And this has actually pissed me off more since Sunday to now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For anyone going, what the fuck is she on about? All through the film, something that gets repeated ad nauseum by Telemachus and by Odysseus is Zeus's law. Right? And according to this film, Zeus's law is be kind to strangers in your home because they might be a god in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while people in ancient texts do sometimes refer to Zeus's law, they more predominantly use the actual word, which is Xenia. And Xenia isn't just be nice to strangers because they might be gods who'll strike you down if you're not. And nor is it this idea of be kind to treat others as you would like to be treated. That's very Christian. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't really vibe well. But the heart of Xenia is being a good host.
Mm-hmm.
It's about hospitality and being welcoming, and it is precious to Zeus. Yes, there are stories where Zeus and others disguise themselves and have retribution against people who don't treat them well.
Mm-hmm.
But you're meant to do it to everybody because it's what you're meant to do. It's not meant to be the thing that you do out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? And there's a bit at the beginning of the film where there's a beggar and Telemachus is welcoming, and Alcinous is like, what are you doing bringing in beggars? And Telemachus cites Zeus's law, and then there just happens to be a rumble of thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Again, that seems to be pushing this idea of be nice to people or the gods will kick your ass, not going into the actual spirit of hospitality.
No.
And the whole point of the Odyssey is all about is that Xenia is at its core. There's people who are really good hosts, Thracians. People who are really bad hosts, Polyphemus. And the people stuck in the middle, which is Penelope and Telemachus, who have horrendous guests in their home.
Yeah.
But what irritated me was the fact that they just didn't use the word.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw an interview with Christopher Nolan, and I literally saw this interview like 2 hours ago, where he said, "Oh yeah, so Zeus's law is at the core. It's called Xenia, but I didn't use it because I didn't think people would understand it."
But like, have one,
Fucking explain it.
yeah, like have one person say it
Say the word,
in
and then someone
context.
go, "Oh, Zeus's law, da da da," and then just use it. Or
Yeah,
you're a filmmaker. You can't explain one term across your entire film.
yeah.
So that irritated the shit out of me, only because it gets repeated so often.
Mm-hmm.
If it was just said once, I'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. They're only mentioning it once. They don't want to have to explain what Xenia is and whatever. But the fact that they use it constantly, explain it wrong, and diminish the importance of it, and bring in this weird Christian aspect to it, which I didn't quite understand, that
Uh,
got me.
I thought about that aspect of it, and it reminds me of a oh years ago, Stephen Fry and Christopher Hitchens had a debate against some bishop and Anne Widdecombe about the
Oh God.
Catholic. Yeah, about no, it was about like whether or not the Catholic Church is a force for good in the world. It was one of those public debates where
Yeah.
the audience gives a poll beforehand, and then after all the points have been said, there's a follow-up poll. And then Anne Widdecombe was doing a documentary, and she interviewed both of them afterwards, and she cited the Ten Commandments as the things that underpin Western civilization. And Stephen Fry kind of pointed out that other civilizations had these basic tenets without the whole thing of being the Ten Commandments. So the statement here, which is be good to someone as if you would want them to be good to you, does kind of support that thing of it's not an inherently Christian thing to not be a prick to someone.
True. I think the way it's phrased, though,
Yeah.
it trips the Christian thing in the brain.
Yeah.
So that was thing number one, right? And like I said, Paddy literally had to tell me to calm the fuck down in the middle of the cinema because I was losing my shit.
Yeah.
The second thing, where was the bed? Where was the bed?
Yeah.
So the Nolan introduced, because apparently he needed to make Penelope stupid, which is annoying because the whole thing with Penelope is that her and Odysseus are like-minded. They're both incredibly intelligent and witty. And Natalie Haynes had mentioned in her podcast an interesting thing, which is that one of her favorite Penelope lines is "I weave deceit." It's fucking brilliant, fantastic line. Hoping that some of that was going to be the film, it wasn't. I know, but the reveal of when Penelope finally accepts Odysseus for who he is when she asks Euroclea the nurse to bring out a bed for this quote-unquote stranger to sleep in. And she says, bring my marital bed, bring the bed of Odysseus. And Odysseus loses his shit. And it's basically like, you're clearly playing me for a fool. She can't bring the bed because the bed is carved into a living tree. I built my room around the tree. I built the palace around the room. You can't take the bed out of the room without killing the tree and blah, blah, blah. But it's meant to be, this was Penelope's test, right? And his reaction, it's not even the fact that he knew that the bed was part of the tree, it's how he reacts to it. And the heart and the emotion of his reaction is what tells her, this is my Odysseus, right? They didn't have the fucking bed at all. What they did instead was at the beginning of the film, they set up this little Athena pin, I suppose you call it, brooch or whatever.
Yeah.
And she gave it to him. He wasn't to tell anyone about it. Weird. And that's how she would know that the stories of him were true. Because if they mentioned the pin, then she would know the stories were true. And I think that's a really half-arsed way to diminish the fact that she knows her husband well enough that someone came to her with a story of Odysseus, she could question them in such a way that she could validate the answer with her knowledge of her husband.
Mm-hmm.
But instead it was, oh, there's this little Athena pin. And at the end, the whole thing at the end, I have a whole different issue with, we'll get to that when we get to that. He presents her with the pin and she's like, oh my god, you are my Odysseus, whatever. It is so boring in comparison to, because Bergman, he could have died and someone else picked up the pin. Like the pin, like the logic of the pin makes no sense. Mm-hmm. But I hate the fact that they took this thing of like he built their marriage bed out of an olive tree. Olive trees, which are a gift from Athena. Mm-hmm. Do you know? Also, like an olive branch being a peace offering. All the symbolism around the fucking olive tree. I think the only context we get of it is I think the throne is meant to have an olive tree sort of carved mm-hmm. into it, maybe. And I think it just fundamentally changes the scene and massively lessens the impact. It gets on my goat.
I do like how you made the tree sound like the rattling bog. I built the bed out of the tree in the palace.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And the last thing I hated, and again, Paddy and I discussed this on Sunday, is in many different interviews about the Odyssey and many different analyses that I've read or listened to over the last few years, one of the things that's most interesting about the Odyssey is the women. There's so many strong women present in the Odyssey, to the point where at one point in time people thought that maybe Homer was a woman. Because there are so many strong women, which you didn't often get in ancient text.
Yeah.
Certainly not from this period. From later periods, again, like Euripides did women amazingly. Ovid, in his own weird way, did women amazingly. And it's interesting that in an ancient text that has these really strong women, and interesting women, it's not that they're strong for the sake of it, right? Looking at you, woke fucking proclaimers who use woke arguments for everything. They're genuinely strong women and they're complex. Mm-hmm. And they're flawed in their own way, right? Penelope is flawed in the sense that she thinks very highly of herself, right? In the same way Odysseus does, right? But in the film, there is a complete erasure or a massive down-leveling of women and women's agency. And I cannot let it go. Agamemnon's daughter, who we see, is never named. Her name is Iphigenia. She is never named. We see the scene of her being pulled away from her mother, what, twice?
Yeah.
Or three times? Twice, three times? She is never named. Cassandra, who is a princess of Troy, is not present. Cassandra's, whose lot in life is to be able to tell the future and never be believed, is completely removed from the film. Which seems weirdly, creepily symbolic of women's lot in life. To never be believed and don't even listen to them in the first place. Just don't even have them there. Odysseus' mother, who is meant to be in the underworld, who's meant to show the personal loss. She is the one who tells him about Penelope and the suitors. She is not there. Right, so his personal loss from home, this idea that so much time has passed since he's left, that even his mother has died, that she's not present at all. Nausicaa and the whole Phaeacian people, not there. Even though Nausicaa and her mother, whose name I can never pronounce, they're the ones. So Nausicaa is the one who picks Odysseus up after Calypso had sent him off. And she tells him, go to the palace, go past my father, he doesn't care, go to my mother. Mm-hmm. And it's implied heavily that it's her mother is the one who makes the big decisions. She is the one who says, okay, we're going to send a ship and we're going to send you home. Mm-hmm. The whole Phaeacians are removed. Therefore, Nausicaa and her mother again. Is it? Oh no, I forgot her name. Sorry. Also removed. Then we have the women who remain. We have Circe, Calypso, Penelope, Helen, and kind of Clytemnestra. She's there but not. Plus one of the servant women.
So the others, you have Melantho.
Melantho, yeah.
And you do have Euryclea.
And Euryclea, the nurse, yeah. Right? Euryclea, I think, is done brilliantly.
Yes.
Euryclea is amazing. Loved her. Fantastic. Very hard to get her character wrong, but fantastic. Circe. Circe is the daughter of Helios, the sun. She lives in a palace, not in a random hut, but whatever. The Circe scene is brilliant and too short. Because in the poem, Odysseus stays with Circe for a year. And there's this really interesting thing between them where there's a whole thing with Hermes, which is completely relevant to the moment, right? Where he sleeps with her and she turns his men back from being pigs. And he stays there for a year. And the thing that's interesting is that it begs the question, is she keeping him there as captive? I.e., she's forcing herself on him. Is he forcing himself on her? Or is it this thing where they're both in this horrible situation and the best they can do to make sure the other person doesn't hurt them is to just have sex? Which I think is a very interesting read.
Wasn't that Madeline Miller's?
She did it a bit. She looked at it that way as well.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you're looking at it because, like, oh, you know, he raised his sword and fell into bed for a year. Okay, that was Edith Hall's summary of it. But it's also Hermes told him to. If she threatens you, say you'll have sex with her. So it's like you can present it as Odysseus doesn't want to have sex with her, but he does to keep his men safe. We can also present it as she doesn't want to have sex with him, but she does to keep herself safe. It's this weird dichotomy. But aside from that, once they do the whole falling into bed thing, and she turns his men back from being pigs, he stays there for a year. His men live it up in the fucking lap of luxury. They're fed. Some guy gets pissed and falls off a roof. They're there for a year. And she gives him really good advice. She is the one who tells him about how to get past the sirens.
Yeah.
Right? That's removed. It becomes he's there for maybe an hour. Her sister is there for some reason. I don't know why she suddenly turned. Like, me and Paddy were looking this up later on, being like, her sister is Pasiphae, the mother of the Minotaur. Why is she a bird? But whatever. But he's there for an hour and then he leaves. And I think that really does Circe service as a character. Calypso is combined with Nausicaa and Nausicaa's mother, whose name I keep forgetting, and the entire Phaeacian people. She's also combined with the Lotus Eaters. So as opposed to Calypso being a nymph or a titan, depending on what way you interpret her character, who is in this prison and who Odysseus was trapped there because you can't leave Ogygia. It's a prison. She cannot leave it. Odysseus is brought to her, or lands on her shores, and they are together for 7 years. And, you know, you can see, again, he's imprisoned. It's not really his choice, 100%. But the only reason he gets to leave in the poem is because Zeus decrees it. And Calypso has this huge crash out of the gods can have whatever fucking mortal they want. But heaven forbid, one goddess finds a mortal she actually loves and then we're not allowed to have him. There's this huge crash out thing.
Yeah.
In this film, Charlize Theron is wasted. And she's just this woman who fell in love with him and decided to keep him drugged and to remove all his memories.
Mm-hmm.
And then she encourages him to retell the story so then he can leave. I'm like, okay, so Calypso is just not Calypso then. Fair enough. Helen. What the fuck did they do to Helen and Menelaus together? I think Lupita Nyong'o is amazing. And I think as someone to play Helen, I think she's fantastic. I think she was a fantastic choice. It's brilliant. She did not play Helen of Sparta. She played an abused housewife with very little agency, to the point of zero, which is not the Helen of Homer's poem. Helen in the Odyssey is the one who tells Telemachus what happened with the Trojan horse. She is the one who tells the story of what happened. Menelaus is busy crying into his wine. There is no indication whatsoever that these two have domestic problems. They're presented as a very loving and happy couple, celebrating the marriage of their daughter, who also, he says my daughter, he doesn't say her fucking name, her name is Hermione. He never scarred her. He never abused her. Why is she suddenly... And it be like, you could have her be an abuse victim of the Trojans, if you wanted to read it that way, that like she didn't leave of her own volition and whatever. But they have it be that Menelaus abused her, essentially blaming her for what happened, and make it that she's the one who ran away and he had to drag her back. The Iliad never makes it clear whether she ran away or whether she was taken away. That's never made explicitly clear.
Yeah.
Arete, that's Nausicaa's
Okay.
mother's name. I remembered.
I think to the thing about Helen is, ever since they started making film adaptations of the Iliad, like way back into like the 50s, it's always been this romanticism that she ran away with Paris. And I always found it confusing because I remember like from like way back when that I remember the very first written story I ever saw of it was for like third class history, and it was a thing of she was kidnapped. And then you read more of the sources, you read the contest of between the three goddesses, and they each promising something. And it's Aphrodite that promises Paris the hand of the most beautiful woman in the world. And it's even a thing in the Iliad when Menelaus beats Paris and Aphrodite saves him from being killed, and she spirits him back to his room, and then she goes to Helen, oh, he's down his luck. Go
fuck him.
Go fuck him. And Helen says no, and she's like, bitch, don't cross me, I will end you. So it seems to be a very kind of a modernish thing where Menelaus, while not the best individual in Greek myth, isn't this drunkard, abusive asshole.
Yeah, like I think what people forget in modern tellings, and this includes Troy, where I think they did a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Is that Helen chose Menelaus.
Yeah.
She chose him. And, to your point, Athena, whatever you want to say it, gifted her to Paris. Menelaus was not home at the time. And it's left a little bit ambiguous, but it can kind of be implied that, like, bearing in mind that from a sort of an ancient perspective, the gods can have very direct impacts on how you work. So even if she did leave with him, seemingly willingly, there's always the undercurrent of Athena or of Aphrodite made her go.
Yeah.
And leave her daughter behind and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Lupita Nyong'o is amazing. I have no issue with the casting. before
No.
anyone tries to call me racist. I have no issue with the casting whatsoever. I have issue with what they did. That's not fucking Helen.
Yeah.
That's not Helen of the amazing speeches that you see in Euripides. That's not the Helen who was drugging Menelaus to get him to calm the fuck down that you see in Homer. That just isn't Helen
I think
at all.
the best way to put it is that up until the bit where Menelaus shows that she has been scarred, you're there going, that is Helen. And then the the kind of the scale is flipped a small bit, and it's got nothing to, as you say, it's got nothing to do with the casting choice, it's got nothing to do with the performance or the level of Lupita's beauty. It's basically the character written is not what she's meant to be.
Yeah. Like, Helen is meant to shape Telemachus' view of Odysseus. That's her role.
Mm-hmm.
And that role was given to Menelaus. Also, in the poem, she gives him this sort of negligee or whatever at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, this is for your future wife. Give it to your
Mm-hmm.
mother and she'll take care of it. And when you eventually get married, this is the gift. Because Penelope is her cousin.
Yep.
Do you know? And it's a gift from a family friend, a member of the family to another member of the family.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of their interaction here, she basically confesses her guilt that all of it was her fault. Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Clytemnestra, and this is where I think the casting, I think, was a mistake. Because they had Lupita Nyong'o play both characters. Now, I can't remember if in the text Clytemnestra and Helen were twins. I know they're sisters. I can't remember if they were twins. But Helen's father is Zeus.
Yeah.
She is
So
born from an egg. It's very weird.
I know, I don't think they're meant to be twins.
So why is Lupita playing both? Because Lupita is an amazingly beautiful woman. So she plays Helen, the most amazingly beautiful woman in all of Greece. Cool. And Clytemnestra is also amazingly beautiful, but no one wanted her apparently.
Hmm.
I don't get the casting choice there. Like, they could have picked another beautiful woman and had that person be Clytemnestra. That's totally fine. I don't get why it was the same person.
Yeah.
And then we've got Penelope herself, who, like I said, they've diminished her intelligence by not having the bed scene. They also diminish her intelligence in the sense that Altinous tells her that he knows that she's unweaving by night.
Yeah.
But we never see her do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the whole, again, it goes back to the I weave deceit, right? And later, she tells the stranger, who we knows it is, she tells him, oh, I did this thing to try and stave off these men for 3 years. We never get that. We get this huge blow up from her towards the end of the film, where she's like, you know, oh, someone needs to sit the throne. I've been sitting it for the last 20 years. This is very sort of like female girl boss crash out.
Mm-hmm.
But in the version of the film we don't see her ruling for shit.
Yeah.
So why give this big whole thing of she's been ruling for 20 years if you didn't show her ruling? You showed her weaving, not unweaving. And you showed her once saying, please don't kill my son. And that was it. You never show her stepping in with the suitors to correct their behaviour. You never show her standing up for the beggars that come in that are being serviced in her halls. You never show her leading fucking anything. And then you think that she deserves a crash out saying, I've been leading for the last 20 years.
That, to me, who wrote Clytemnestra the play?
Who wrote Clytemnestra's play?
It's not,
Is it
it's not
Aeschylus? Or is it... Oh, let's see.
No, because as we've mentioned before, and again, we'd highly recommend to anyone, Natalie Haynes' podcast stands up for the classics. She mainly does writers, but during the pandemic, when she was operating from home, she did a season based on women in Greek myth, and it's an episode based on Clytemnestra. And I think there's a bit in the play of Clytemnestra where Agamemnon is returning and or is it after the murder? I'm not quite sure. But basically, Clytemnestra says, "I've been ruling in his stead the whole time."
Yeah. Oh,
So
that
what?
that, that is very much a Clytemnestra thing.
Yeah. So I was like, that element in it. I was kind of going, that doesn't feel like Penelope. That feels more like Clytemnestra to me.
Yeah. It's Aeschylus. It's
Aeschylus.
Aeschylus.
Yeah.
It's in the Arstea. It's
Okay.
in
Right.
Aeschylus
Yeah.
Arstea. But yeah, so like Clytemnestra has this thing
Yeah.
because she offers the men of the council
Mm-hmm.
of where the fuck where's
Oh,
the from
Mycenae.
Mycenae. She offers them out saying like if you're welcome to come at me, bro.
Yeah.
Like fuck off, basically. So they just diminished all of these characters. And like I've been rambling for quite a bit on this part, and Paddy will get to go through his in a second. But like in this day and age, you're adapting this ancient novel, this ancient poem that already had strong women in it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you expanded your view a little bit, which we know that he did, Sinan being a primary example of that. And if you look to the other sources and you look to the other sources, these women are so strong.
Mm-hmm.
And he just completely diminished them to make this cookie cutter hero of Odysseus
Mm-hmm.
with zero flaws and zero ambiguity beyond I broke Zeus's law by going into Troy and sacking it.
Yeah. Um,
So those are my three, and I know I rambled on them, but I didn't know what
and
three we'd have. So
yeah.
what were your three
Yeah.
hates?
Before I go on there, there's I suppose a couple of things to your last point there. In the Clytemnestra episode of Natalie Haynes' podcast, she asked Professor Edith Hall, who was another classicist, and it was genuinely very entertaining and very knowledgeable.
I love Edith. She's fucking brilliant.
She commented on the fact that like when these poems are written when like fourth century BCE. From
Euripides and stuff would have been Homer was before that.
Yeah. So like, but like in around those time periods, and then she had said like that these men wrote these incredibly strong women way back when, and Edith kind of posited that it might have been a sort of a thing of counterculture, because like to state like that at this time in the democratic cities that were being city states that are there, that it's like for some people it's very pearl clutching to have like a presentation of women that are that powerful in their lives and things like that. But still, the fact to actually sit down and write these characters with the intent to make them not as a sort of a modern affectation of like a girl boss or a Mary Sue or whatever the fuck it is, but no, just to write down these fully fleshed out characters from the other side of things, which is kind of cool, um then I think the only character that you mentioned that I didn't have an issue with their presentation or lack thereof is Cassandra, because Cassandra isn't relevant to the story outside the Agamemnon aspect, but even then, the core thing of Agamemnon having sacrificed Iphigenia is enough of an understandable motive for Clytemnestra to kill him for a film-going audience that doesn't know anything about the stories coming back to it. It's not the fact that he has the gall to bring his concubine back for war, which was the rule was when you're at war, when you're in the field, you can sleep with whoever you want. Don't bring it back home.
Yeah, and like I didn't want Cassandra there for that purpose.
Yeah,
because I think you're right. I think the Iphigenia thing is more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I'm pissed off she's not there is because we know that Nolan took other things other than just Homer. We know that. Again, Sinon is the example. Sinon isn't in the Odyssey. He's in the Aeneid. But it's the fact that Cassandra, like none of the characters from the Iliad are really there, bar Agamemnon and Menelaus.
Yeah,
we don't see we don't see Priam. We don't see The children of
Nestor.
Priam, we don't see, but in terms of the Trojans, we don't see
Oh, Trojan.
Priam, we
Yeah.
don't see the children of Priam, we don't see um, Hecuba, who was given to Odysseus. We don't see Hecuba
Mm-hmm.
at all. But the one person who should have been there, because she's the one who spoke out against the fucking horse,
Yeah.
is Cassandra. And her line
Mm-hmm.
is given to random man in the background.
Yeah.
There was a way to have Cassandra there. You didn't even need to name her. Like, you just have her be a young woman who
Mm-hmm.
says, "No, this means the death of all of us," or whatever her line was, and then have that same woman be seen being pushed onto Agamemnon's ship, and that would have been it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you needed to do to have her there. But instead, the woman who was cursed to always speak the truth and never be believed. Not only does she not get to be believed, she doesn't even get to be heard
I have
or
to admit,
seen.
I always got that thing confused with not that she wouldn't be believed; it's that no one would actually hear her. In the sense, she would make a prophecy, but for all intents and purposes, no one could hear what she had actually said. But maybe it might have been the translation, which was, "Oh, I don't hear what you're saying," as in like, "I don't believe in you. I don't believe
Yeah.
what you're saying." Versus, it's wah 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 wah, or just
Yeah, no, I don't think she's meant to sound like Charlie Brown's teachers or whatever
yeah,
it
yeah,
is. I don't think that
yeah,
it's more like Helena
yeah,
in Fire and Blood or House of the Dragon.
yeah,
That well, Helena's like Cassandra.
yeah. Okay.
To put that on. But Patty, what were the three things that you didn't like, and is there any overlap with mine?
So I think the main things I didn't like were some of the casting elements, and mainly Tom Holland as Telemachus and John Berntal as Menelaus. And I think I'll speak more about John Berntal first because look, I like John Berntal. I think he's a good actor, but I was watching this and I was just going, "That's just John Berntal." It's I'm not getting Menelaus. Like I'm kind of getting the way he plays the Punisher versus the way that he plays like um the character that he had in The Wolf of Wall Street. Just that sort of presence. And I actually said it to a friend of mine that there's another actor in this movie that I think would have been fantastic as Menelaus, and it's Ryan Hurst, the guy who plays Mentor.
Okay, would have been very good actually.
Because so Ryan Hurst, for people that may not know the name, is he plays the character Opie in Sons of Anarchy. He played the character of Gary Bertier in Remember the Titans. He was in The Walking Dead. He's a fantastic actor, and strange enough, he was meant to be playing Kratos in the live action version of God of War. And here he is playing in the story a character that is Athena in disguise, and obviously Kratos and Athena don't have the best relationship in the God of War series. But he was also Thor, the voice and motion capture actor for Thor in God of War Ragnarok. But anyway, he has this ability to emote so much with, I think, more so than John Berntal can. And Ryan Hurst, like, to have this world weary version of Menelaus that they were trying to portray in the, like, I would have gotten a much more sense of like pathos and grief and it's all facade from Ryan Hurst than I did from John Berntal. And I would love to have seen the dinner table with Ryan Hurst and Lupita. I think he would have been fantastic in that role. Again, I like John Berntal. I just don't think he was the best in this particular role. Tom Holland as Telemachus. I haven't seen Tom Holland outside of a whole lot outside of Spider-Man movies. I'll admit that. I haven't gone near the Uncharted film because I love the Uncharted film series.
Don't go near it, Paddy.
I
love you too much that you watched that film.
I am a huge fan of it. And I remember at one point there was a fan film of Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake. I thought that was really good. But no, he was the wrong choice for that. And then I think I've seen like just like a scattering of other things. And he's an all like I won't say he's the best actor. He's a good actor, but I won't say he's the best actor. And he is absolutely at his strength when he is playing Spider-Man. Here, it felt like he wasn't given proper direction, because there are times where he is just kind of standing there like he's not sure how to perform in the scene. And some of the lines he gives are a bit stilted. Like sometimes he's really good. Like the it's oddly enough, the top half of his face when he realizes who Odysseus is, great. His bottom half of his face when he's realizing who Odysseus is, not so much. And some of his scenes with Anne Hathaway, like, no, he's completely overshadowed by Anne Hathaway, but some of his scenes in them are really good. And obviously there's the whole thing of, well, now we know who would actually win in the fight, is Batman or Spider-Man. It's ha ha ha. It's a very Cinema Sins line of me to say, but fucking I've been watching a lot of the Birdman lately. So yeah, I think if anyone wants to give out about the casting choices and the casting performances, that kind of stuff, that's my 2 cents into this. I will talk about other casting choices in a while.
So John Bernthal, I completely agree. Just a horrible casting choice. It made no sense. Tom Holland, I think, makes sense to play Telemachus because Telemachus has to be 20 years old, because that's how long Odysseus has been gone. Although in this he's only been gone for 17 years or something.
Yeah.
He has to be 20 years old. But he also has to not be old enough or have enough presence to be the king in Odysseus' stead. And I think Tom Holland, because of his youthful face, can do that quite well.
I'll make an amendment. Not the casting choice, the performance of Tom Holland.
So I think the casting of Tom Holland was a good choice. I think the performance, I would blame 99% of that on the script.
Yeah.
The whole American English and calling Odysseus dad and whatever is weird. I would also question, I don't know if you've seen any of the behind the scenes, but like this film, the whole thing, it was filmed 100% on IMAX. And Christopher Nolan worked with IMAX to develop a new camera that could be used where he could actually record audio, because previously he couldn't because the IMAX camera was too loud. The fucking thing was so big you couldn't see your scene partner while you were acting. They had to use mirrors to to allow you to share a scene with someone. There was a clip of himself and of Telemachus and Menelaus to show that they couldn't see each other.
Yeah.
And I think Tom Holland is a good actor. I don't think he's the strongest actor in the world, personally speaking. And I agree with you. I don't think he was given the direction or the strength in the script needed to sell it 100%. There are bits when it works. I think it works more and more towards the end of the film. He gets better as the film goes on. It also didn't help that they dressed him like a peasant.
Yeah, like
he's a prince of Ithaca. What the fuck?
But then again, like if you think of, no, I haven't seen the movie fully, but I did watch a couple of scenes from the Ralph Fiennes film, The Return, and that's a very dressed down version as to, like, it's one of those revisionist movies. So the way that Telemachus is just like, he's just wearing a slightly fancier chiton or however you want to pronounce it than everyone else. I was like, not the worst costume I've seen in anyone, but no, so correction to my statement, good casting choice, not the best performance. The next thing that I wasn't a fan of was the escape sequence from Polyphemus's cave. Because in the story, they blind Polyphemus. And now there's a big difference here, which is that in this movie, we don't understand what Polyphemus is saying. Like, he does speak, but we can't understand him. And he's a lot more vocal in the poem. And when they escape, Odysseus tells his men to strap themselves to the underside of Polyphemus's sheep, so that when he runs his hands low to the ground to feel them, to see if there's anyone trying to escape, they like he will only feel the sheep, he won't feel the men. Here, they just strap a handful of straw to their backs, and Polyphemus is very kind of lazily just moving his hand back and forth, not even that close to the ground. And it's like, okay, like they literally could just crawl under his hand. And for like that sequence, like that cave scene is brilliant.
Mm.
I'll speak to a bit more, but that just really, oh, it's just like a wet fart. It just really kind of undermines everything that had just come beforehand.
Did you
To
notice that they also set it up to be done the right way and then did it the wrong way?
Yep,
Because they count how many sheep there are
yeah,
and they count how many of them there are.
yeah,
And the whole idea of four of them having to do a runner
yeah,
was that there weren't enough sheep for men.
mm-hmm.
So those men said, well, we'll try and make a runner for it ahead of the rest of you. If we get out, fantastic. If we don't, there's enough sheep for the rest of you left. Because the whole idea was that Polyphemus wasn't running his fingers over the sheep just because he likes the feel of them.
Mm-hmm.
He was fucking counting them
Mm-hmm.
because he's a shepherd.
Yep. And the thing is, as well, is that like I know that there was great pride was taken into account to say that like 95% of this movie is practical effects.
Mm.
Perfectly fine. Those sheep were too fucking small to carry the weight of those men.
Yes.
So like there, and it also kind of leads into another, my final thing that I didn't like is I have seen artwork, and I have a fantastic jigsaw by the Lawrence Fisher company that do jigsaws,
Mm.
and it's of the Lystragonians. It's fantastic, and the Lystragonians are this giant race of cannibals,
Mm.
and Odysseus has a ship, has a fleet of 12 ships, and they pull into the thing, and he holds his ship back, and you see this whole thing of like rocks and trees being thrown into this channel that the fucking fleet has come into, and then these fucking savages come in and they're just throwing stuff into the water, and they're reaching down and they're pulling men up to eat them, and it's absolutely visceral, fucking unreal in artwork, and unreal in most of the depictions that I've seen it here. Here it is a group of largely armored knights from the Dark Souls series who hack apart two ships
Mm-hmm.
in a very slow, cumbersome way. And the Odysseus' men that are in those two ships, they're in the shallows, so they can't get enough motion to try and it is scary for them. But in terms of the spectacle as how it was presented in the poem and how it has in your mind, it is underwhelming. And I was really looking forward to that thing, because I remember like, and I didn't have so much an issue with the armor that they were wearing, but they were very they were very subdued. Like I was expecting, like I wanted a lot more vocality. I wanted a lot more roaring. Like there's a great bit with the moving forest that I was kind of going, what the fuck? Why are the so Odysseus has been panicking?
Mm.
And then I saw what was happening. I was like, oh, that's great. That's phenomenal. But just the Lystragonians really let me down. So now I know that that might be kind of, I've taken the one topic and broken it into two aspects of it, but it's one is a sequence and the other is the scale of a sequence.
Yeah.
And again, I saw what he did with Dunkirk, and I was really hoping that this would have been like his World War II trilogy. I wanted to see his version of the Battle of Britain, and then I wanted to see him do like Pegasus Bridge or something else, because the man has the fucking scale. Like he has the scope and the vision to do something that epic. And there's a lot of stuff, like the story beats for the epic side of things are Polyphemus's cave, the battle with the Lystragonians, Scylla and Charybdis,
Mm.
and the Lystragonians, and the majority of Polyphemus's cave I love. The end of it and the Lystragonian bit, very disappointing. So those are
Yeah.
the things that underwhelmed me.
Yeah. For context of anyone who hasn't seen it yet, who's just listening to our fucking ranting about it beforehand, in the poem, to Paddy's point, Odysseus has 12 ships with
Yes.
about 40 men per ship.
Mm-hmm.
In the film, he has 3 ships, one big one, 2 small ones,
Yep.
with about 30 guys on each.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, narratively, it doesn't change a whole lot, but impact wise, it changes a hell
Yeah.
of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sort of gives the implication that he kept all these men alive through the entirety of the Trojan War, but then he couldn't fucking get them home.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point.
Yeah.
Again, I think we're going to keep citing Natalie Haynes. She made a point that like women in the ancient world, you want to stay the fuck away from Theseus. Men in the ancient world, stay the fuck away from Odysseus. You
Yeah.
don't want to be anywhere near him. But yeah, and I agree with you on the Laestrygonians. I was very underwhelmed by them. And I have a theory that I'll get to at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's a theory that I kind of spoke with you about a little bit the other day, but I'll get to it at the end. But yeah, I agree with you. I love how our things are quite different.
Yeah.
But I agree with all of the things that you said. they weren't the top of my list because the fucking other things were fucking eating my brain, but they are also things I didn't like.
To your point as well, like I agree, I miss the bed sequence because I think the bed sequence is really good in the poem. It's a nice representation of their relationship and how they were a perfect match for each other. Like because she's intelligent, he's also intelligent. I mean, like he's the one that fucking essentially made the. You could even go so far as to say he's the one that caused the war because he made the pact that if in the courtship of Helen, he said, well, if anyone abducts her, everyone else here that has to go and fucking fight to bring her back.
That's the thing. I think that's why the bed sequence is missing bothers me so much because the key difference, the reason why Agamemnon is even in the Odyssey, right? He's dead. Why the fuck is he even in it? The reason why he's in it, the reason why we hear about what happened to him, is the contrast between Agamemnon and Clytemnestra, and Odysseus and Penelope.
Yeah.
And one of the key differences between, and you sort of have Helen and Menelaus somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I think. But the key difference is that Odysseus didn't want Helen.
No.
He wanted Penelope. Theirs is a love match.
Yeah.
And like she chose him, he chose her. And the whole point is that they have this sameness, this oneness about them. And after the slaughter, once the whole point is that they share their stories. He tells her everything that happened. And that's who they are. Compared to Clytemnestra and Agamemnon, who have a very traditional for the time relationship of he's the man of the house and she's just the woman and she doesn't get a fucking say in anything.
To your point about the Xenia thing, I don't think I minded as much as you, but I think that's probably a wider part of the language used in the movie as opposed to just Xenia. And then with the erasure of women, I know that we talked about Cassandra. I agree with the Iphigenia thing. I was like, just fucking name her. Just name it. The Phaeacians, Nausicaa, like that. The erasure of them from the movie just raises the thing that if you want to do this properly, it can't be a movie. It needs to be a television series because the story is so epic in scope that you're going to miss something that is important to a character beat or whatever. And like, I remember there's a thing that some critics and even Emily Wilson herself has said is that the way that Nolan has portrayed Odysseus is to this sort of PTSD, fucking grief-riddled person.
It's Oppenheimer Part 2.
Yeah, but like, there's a bit in the poem when a bard is called upon to sing the story of Troy, and he gets a bit into it, and then they notice that Odysseus is crying.
Mm.
Now, I always took that to say that he is crying over the memories of what happened and the friends he lost and what happened in there, especially if you take into account certain texts having been there for the present for the fate of Astyanax.
Yeah. Who is also
So
fucking missing.
yeah, so him being upset and having this grief, I think that makes perfect sense. It really does. But to think about like the Phaeacians, like would they have been cool to have been in there as a sort of another non-mainland Greek representation of how the wider world knows about the story of the fall of Troy? Yeah, for the overall impact of the pacing of the movie, I can understand why they were left out. We had a discussion about the Clytemnestra aspect of things,
Mm.
and or we had a. I still think we probably do have an extent like a misalignment or like a disagreement over how that was portrayed, because in the movie it is roughly 45 seconds of flash footage to show Clytemnestra welcoming a you know Agamemnon, Batmageddon because of his armor, welcoming him back to Mycenae, and she lulls him into a false insecurity, like, "Oh, my wonderful husband, welcome back," and she bathes him. And there's a bit in it there where I think this is where my disagreement comes from. Is so in the story of the Oresteia, so the Clytemnestra, how she murders
Mm.
Agamemnon, she she dyes the carpet that leads to their bed the color of blood as a representation of you killed our daughter. And then she has a specially weaved robe for him to wear to bed. And it turns out it's like kind of like a weird straitjacket type thing where
Yeah.
he can't get his hands on, so he can never bring himself to defend himself. But throughout the whole thing is that Agamemnon is so egotistical and narcissistic that he thinks he can slip back into everything, not a bother, and that Clytemnestra, she has been so deprived of his touch that she, of course, will do all these things and lead him to the bedchamber and, ride him away. And there's a bit where he's getting onto the bed and he's just lying back, kind of, almost as a sort of "I'm ready for your service." And this speaks to her acting ability, but also her sexuality. Is the way Lupita crawls towards him and then just boom, stabs him. Like, I remember
Mm.
when it happened, she shouts, and like I jumped out of my chair. Like, I don't know if you felt it. Myself and the guy beside me did it, and I was like, that is a great scene because one, it shows that Agamemnon was so far up himself that he couldn't fucking see the writing on the wall. He had no thing to say, like, I don't have to worry about any of my actions coming back to haunt me. It also kind of it to get very kind of soapboxy and philosophical, it showed a fear that a lot of men have over the power of, you know, uh, what's the best way to put this is sexually powerful women,
Mm.
in the sense of like we like to a woman that we are attracted to on that level, for them to completely pounce on us and take us unawares and whatever, it's one of that kind of weird contradiction in terms of going, oh my god, this is kind of hot but also very terrifying at the same time. And I just thought it was Clytemnestra using that against them so well. It is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I'll say that then and there. So like, I know that we have a disagreement on that to an extent, I think, like, because again, the Odyssey isn't that story, and I want to see that story by itself. I want to see the Oresteia in another movie by itself, where all of these little story beats can be hit. Them missing from this thing, I didn't mind as much as you did. The one thing I did mind was Iphigenia not being named.
Yeah, I think that's really good. My critique of it stems from the fact that the things that I felt were missing,
Mm-hmm.
the tapestries,
Yeah.
Which bearing in mind, and again, we will keep going back to Natalie Haynes because she does such an amazing series on this. But
Mm-hmm.
herself and Edith Hall described the fact that to dye the tapestries this sort of deep red, almost purple
Mm-hmm.
color would cost so much money.
Oh yeah, because they have to dive into the sea for the crustaceans that produce
Yeah,
that
and then
dye.
extract it. It's a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So you've that, and then you have the net. And
Mm-hmm.
again, the net really shows the contrast between Penelope and Clytemnestra. Clytemnestra is never shown weaving. It's not something she fucking does.
No.
So for her to have this robe ready,
Mm-hmm.
it's this false sense of security. My issue with it is I wanted to see it. I was kind of gutted we didn't. And because he mentions, oh, being welcomed back by a hero, like a hero, and she had been planning for years. So he mentions those two things. These two things could have been just visual. Just
Mm-hmm.
show him walking on the purple tapestries
Mm-hmm.
and show him putting on the thing. Purely visual, no
Mm-hmm.
explanation needed. A lovely nod to the amazing character that is Clytemnestra
Mm-hmm.
that costs nothing to do in the
Yeah.
film.
My friend that I had this discussion with, I had brought out I was talking about the scale of the Lestragonian scene, and he was saying, with everything being so practical, I'm sure it was a budgetary thing. And I made the joke going, fuck it, just pay everyone 100 grand and tell them they're getting a paid vacation to do some work, and then show the rest into like, increasing the budget for like production value. So that could have, yeah, no, to your point, yeah, as a visual thing, yeah, I could
Yeah,
agree.
it could have been done visually, and it would
Yeah,
have been. And again, the same with Cassandra. Have a woman say the line. Have a woman be put on his ship. You don't have to
yeah,
name her.
no.
We know who she is. It's fine. Just don't erase it entirely.
I just have this
Um,
image of like if there was dialogue in that scene where he would just go, "Bring me my sex robe." Oh,
okay, let's go on to the things that we actually liked, and we did touch a little bit on bits that we liked.
yeah.
So I picked three things, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we are going to go scene by scene. We'll go through the scene by scene probably a lot faster than we're going through this, but we will go through it scene by scene. But I will say, first and foremost, some of the performances were absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the word some because some of them, and we think it was scripting and direction. The actors are really good. I think other than Menelaus, I don't think there was a bad casting choice in my and Lupita for Clytemnestra, but Lupita was great.
Yeah,
Lupita herself is a great actress, but
yeah,
I think Lupita would have been great as Clytemnestra
yeah,
if she wasn't also being Helen.
yeah,
Pick one. She'd be
yeah.
great as either of them. Just pick one, and be fine. Um, you know, Anne Hathaway's Penelope was very good. With what she was given. Weirdly enough, even though I hated the inclusion of the character and the plot and everything to do with the character, I actually really liked Elliot Page's Sinon.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did a great job with the character, particularly in the underworld. That was fantastic.
Mm.
Elliot did a phenomenal job with the underworld scene. Even though I don't like the Sinon storyline and the whole thing with Altinimus, I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the performance with Elliot was amazing. I thought he did a really good job. Again, the underworld in particular, I thought was
Yeah.
very, very good. Cersei, fantastic performance. Again, not the Cersei I wanted to see,
Mm-hmm.
but the performance was amazing. Interesting enough, the woman who plays Cersei, and I keep forgetting her name, and you keep
Uh,
having to remind me,
Samantha Morton.
Samantha Morton, she was asked in an interview, again, there's so much happening around Greece. Like, there is a book by Madeline Miller called Cersei, is up
Mm-hmm.
there somewhere. Um, she's like, "What research did you do?" And in fairness to Samantha Morton, and I totally get why this would be the choice that you would make, and I think for a film like this, it has to be. She's like, "What research did you do?" Meaning, like, did you read Cersei by Madeline Miller? Did you read anything else? She's like, "I read the script."
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many possible interpretations out there, but this is the one that we were making. And actually, even though it isn't the one that I particularly liked, I stand by her decision to make the character that was written.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. Her performance was phenomenal. I
Mm-hmm.
think outside of Anne Hathaway, I think hers was probably the best female performance in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because she was given the most to say,
Yeah.
and the most complexity in what she was saying. So I thought she was great. Some of the others are fantastic as well, but those ones particularly stood out to me as I was watching it. Um, and so I thought that they were really, really good. I would say that Matt Damon, for the most part, I thought he was very good.
Mm-hmm.
There's one or two bits again, and I think it was mostly just dialogue that didn't really
Yeah.
fly for me. But again, I think there's more of a dialogue thing than anything else. Um, Continuing with Cersei for a second, though,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, the way they set her up isn't the way she's set up in the poem. She's meant to be in this huge palace. She's meant to have this whole thing. They instead make her some sort of like farmer's
Wait.
wife almost type thing,
Yeah. She's
like a
the
medieval witch rather
yeah.
than
She's the crazy hag that lives in the hills.
rather than the son of a titan that she or the
Yeah.
daughter of a titan that she said she
Yeah.
is. The pig transformation though, fuck me, right? It was horrifying
Mm.
and disgusting,
Mm-hmm.
but also amazing,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is one of these things. It was so visceral because you see her physically shaping them into pigs,
Yeah.
and there's something very like when you think about Greek myth
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that um the first men were made, there were clay
Yeah.
figures made by Prometheus and Zeus and breathed life by Zeus, and then you think of Pandora, who was also made from clay and was the
Mm-hmm.
progenitor female of the species. Having her mold them as if she's molding them out of clay,
Mm-hmm.
I just thought looked I thought it worked really, really well. It is fucking horrendous to watch.
Yeah.
It makes you want to be sick.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my god, it was very good.
Yeah.
It's one of those scenes where you're like, I can never watch that again, but I kind of want to watch it again. You
Yeah.
know? It was
Mm-hmm.
was very, very visceral. And the other thing that I really loved, and you and I discussed this again on Sunday, and it's going to sound weird to people who are like, oh, but she just shat on the whole, reduction of women and where was the bed scene over. I actually really liked the flashback scene we got of Odysseus and Penelope. What they were talking about, if I don't return, marry someone else. Here's a pin to remember me by. Those two bits I didn't particularly wasn't a particular fan of. But the scene itself and the fact that we got to see this scene of the two of them as loving parents,
Mm-hmm.
as a loving couple, even just the way they're in bed together, and again you can tell that it's a love. She's lying on top of his back
Mm-hmm.
talking to him. There's just certain things about the way it was phrased as like, cool, these are two people very much in love.
Yeah.
And it hurts them that they're being separated. But for duty and for honor and to protect their family and protect their people, they have to be separated. But it just sort of really cements the heart of their relationship,
Mm-hmm.
which made the whole lack of the bed scene at the end piss me off all the more. Because I just thought it was really very sweet. Again, I don't like the whole here's a pin to
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and I don't like the whole if I don't come back, make sure you marry someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I felt was unnecessary. But the fact that he gave them that moment and that scene, because they could have made a whole thing about Odysseus pretending to be crazy and ploughing a field with salt and all that kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. They could have done that version of the scene, which, I think in some cases they kind of would like to see, in some cases they didn't. But instead they gave us them as a couple in the before.
Mm-hmm.
So we can contrast it and
Yeah.
see that actually it's the same as them as a couple at the end.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. Also because I'm a romantic at heart and it made my shipper heart happy. Because if I couldn't see Helen and Menelaus happy,
Yeah.
at least I get to see Penelope happy twice.
Because, like as you said, like in, and it's done really well in the Song of Achilles, the courtship scene.
Yeah.
But it is I can't remember. Was there some version or someone said something about basically Penelope is just, it's expected of her to want Odysseus back
Mm.
because she's his wife and whatever. It's like, no, she wants him back.
Yeah.
She wants her husband back. She doesn't want the king back. She wants her husband back.
That was the
Uh,
one part of Anne Hathaway's crash out. The crash out I thought was a bit too over the top, but the one bit I like is when he's like, what do you want then? Do you want the throne? She's like, no, I want Odysseus.
yeah,
I quite like that end bit of her crash out. That was very good.
yeah. Like, do you want your king or a king? And she's like, I want Odysseus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. The bits that I liked. So to
Mm.
echo your first point, the majority of the cast I thought did a fantastic job. Like top performances from me go to Anne Hathaway or Annie Hathaway. I think she wants to go
Mm.
by now. Samantha Morton as Circe. Robert Pattinson and Corey Hawkins as Antinous and Polybus, the two suitors.
Mm.
Corey Hawkins is a fantastic actor.
Mm.
But Robert Pattinson, I was saying to a friend of mine as well, like that, I'm really glad that Robert Pattinson no longer has to put up with the whole, oh, he was shiny vampire man. It's like,
Mm.
no, like, fuck it. Like, the guy has done just phenomenal work. He's one of my favorite Batman. He is a very versatile actor. He is great. So he's excellent here. Um, then John Leguizamo, I think does a good job
Yeah.
as you
I
may.
don't know why he's fucking blind, but yeah.
I think it was. I think they're. You see, it's the thing in the poem is that Athena disguises Odysseus, where it's here. Um, he would recognize him straight away because the gods in this are present, but they're not physically present.
Mm.
Which I know some people are giving out about, but again, like it's like it kind of ties in with that opening line of a time of apparent magic. So to have the feel of them being there without actually being present, I think is a kind of a nice enough touch. Um, Matt Damon, for the most part, I agree. He's fantastic in this movie because there are certain scenes in it where, like, you feel like he is the classical Odysseus that people like to portray as the hero. Like when he's when it's the flashbacks to him demonstrating like his archery ability, or him with his hunting lads, like the boys that help him hunt. I think those bits are great. Um, the There's the bits with Sinan I quite enjoyed. His bits in the underworld are good. His best part of his performance though is the scene with the sirens.
Mm.
And I'll get onto that in a minute, but Jesus Christ, he sells that scene so well. So that is the standout moment for him in this entire film is the siren sequence. Um, Charlize Theron, I agree, is completely wasted, and I know that a lot of people were pitching her for Circe, and given Madeline Miller's description of Circe, I think some other productions or other versions of Circe, I don't think she would have been the right fit. And there's a problem with Calypso anyway. I think for modern aesthetic is that Calypso is presented as, even though she's thousands of years old, she is still presented as like a teenage girl. And like before going into the movie, before seeing what we saw, the idea of Odysseus and her shacking up the way that she does look up, I'm sure there would be a lot of modern day pearl clutching.
Mm.
So raising her up to be this age now is, yeah, it's fine. It is wasted, I do agree. But she's Charlize Theron. She gives 110% for everything that she does, so can't falter on that. A small little shout out for me because I'm such a big fan of his, James Remar as Blind Tiresias. It
Mm.
is a very small sequence, but I love James Remar in pretty much everything I've seen him in. And here he does a really good job for the small bit that he's in it. So I'm always going to shout out James Remar. I loved the music. The music in this was fantastic. Like, it added emotion. It added, like, there's a great scene there where after Achilles strings his bow, and Penelope has walked away because she thinks he can't do it. And then he strings the bow, and there's this musical twang that happens. And Odysseus has in this movie a thing where, to alert his prey that he's there, he twangs the bow, and it's almost like a musical chord. And he does it right at the moment that the music hits. It's like in I can't remember what baseball stadium it is, but they get people to try and match the beat of the beat drop from "And I Will Always Love You," the Whitney Houston version. So yeah, that bit was great. But the scene, I was saying it to Trish as well when we were in the cinema, the bit where they're showing the sack of Troy, and the Greeks come out of the horse, and there's just this steadily building beat. And I was like, for fuck's sake, would someone open the gate, because I don't think my heart can take the tension because of this like rising thing. I was like, for fuck's sake, lads, I can't handle it. So yeah, the music, unreal, absolutely unreal. And then some of the set pieces, like the pig transformation, I nearly did get sick. It is, but, and actually, there's one person I think doesn't get. I haven't heard a whole lot of praise for him, not because he doesn't deserve it, because again he's just kind of lowered on the pecking bill. But Himish Patel as Eurocleus, Achilles is second in command. He's really good in this movie. Yeah, so great job by him. But the bit, because like they're like shoveling food into their gobs, and I remember asking you, kind of going, was the food kind of like going into them? Like, was it going of its own volition into them? And I think it kind of was, and it was like, because it's like a really pork stew and it's not very tenderly. I was like,
It has the thing that my dad likes.
Yeah,
I've had to buy it once in my lifetime,
like
but just the name of it makes me want to vom. Is tripe?
Tripe, yeah. And it's like, it's almost like kind of like squid, kind of going into their mouth. But the way she's singing and she's caressing them, and as you say, it's like pottery. It's like a fucked up version of the scene from Ghost. So that bit, the fall of Troy is fantastic, because there's a bit of dialogue that Odysseus says, which is, when the gates open, I felt 10 years of rage, 10 years of anger, 10 years of sorrow, 10 years of emotion pour into the city. And I think more so than the sack of Troy scene in the movie Troy, when he said it's this outpouring of emotion from the men, absolutely. This wasn't cruelty for the sake of cruelty. This was pent-up frustration and aggression being taken out in the most, like, the one thing that you're always told is never dishonor the gods. And here you have like Ithacans at this point, like just beheading statues of gods. And it's like, yeah, they're so just blood drunk that everything that you would say, like the rules of war and the rules of engagement, they're tossed out the window. And yeah, thought that sequence was excellent. The siren scene, I want to get your take on this. So the siren scene is, in the movie, everyone puts the wax into their ears, and the minute that Eurocleus puts the wax into his ears, you stop hearing sound, essentially. You hear the muffled thing. And then, because Odysseus says he wants to hear the song, he wants to be the person to hear it and survive. And you see Matt Damon's reaction. And then the dialogue comes over when he's describing it. Like, he's describing it off camera, but he's describing it as it's happening, as to, it's the thing you want most, but it's the thing you can't have the most. It's like all these things. And this is where Matt Damon's acting is fucking amazing, because you see this joy and then this insanity come into him, because he can't take it. Like, even one of his men like takes out the the wax, and then like his crewmates try to stop him, but he can't, and he just jumps into the ocean, never to be seen again. I like the fact that you don't see, like, you see the sirens shoot like fading smoke, and they are
Mm.
like, I like the fact that they were men and women. I thought that
Yes,
was
I like
interesting.
that as well. Mm.
But you don't see, like, because they're meant to be women's heads on top, birds on bottom, not like harpies,
Mm.
but like a sort of a, yeah, just like bird head, or sorry, human head, bird body, and but it's the whole thing. You're meant to see the skeletons and like everything that happened to the people that landed on the island. You don't see that. I thought that was great aesthetic, but I've seen complaints about that scene, basically saying we were robbed of like an amazing musical sequence because we couldn't hear the song. And I've seen one or two statements that I agree with, which is that no matter what, like Ludwig Göransson, I think that the music for this,
Mm.
he's
Yep.
incredible. I love Ludwig Göransson. Man hasn't turned out a bad soundtrack ever. And like Hans Zimmer, John Williams, you want to put all like James Horner, like I know he's passed away now, but like you want to put up any of the greats, you would never be happy with it. I
Mm.
don't think like, and I agree with that statement. No matter what was going to be there, no one was ever going to be happy with it. But seeing Matt Damon sell it, that shows you how good that sequence was.
Yeah, I disagree with people saying that we were robbed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the scene has more impact if we don't know what's being said,
Yeah, agree.
and if we can't hear it. Um, I think it's also one of these. It's like the Orpheus thing. Like everyone
Mm-hmm.
wants to write the music of Orpheus
Yeah.
or whatever. Um, I one of the things I've always had about the sirens in general,
Mm-hmm.
long before I ever watched this one, is I always found the whole deal with the sirens to be the case of the myth being almost the complete opposite of reality.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone wants to hear the Song of the Sirens because no one's ever heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And so people think there's going to be this amazing chorus of music and it's full of life and it shows you your wildest dreams and blah blah blah. I think it's a bit more like the mermaids from Peter Pan.
Mm-hmm.
The Jason Isaacs Peter Pan. Where what it is a spell.
Yeah.
You hear what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why Odysseus then goes a bit fucking Lula bananas by the end of it, and it's screaming out, is because it then, as he's going further and further away, he hears what it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that works much better as a physical reaction
Mm-hmm.
than it would as a musical.
Yep.
Like, because the whole point is that the song is unique to the person hearing it. So the
Mm-hmm.
guy who jumped overboard heard something completely different to Odysseus. So what would we hear? Like what people want is people want epic, right?
Yeah.
That's what people want.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't that.
No.
For good and for bad, this isn't that. So no, I agree with you. I think it works better as
Like
whatever.
there's a thing. It's you have a lot of people of say a slightly older generation, or even like kind of our generation, but a slightly older generation than us, which is that like going, oh, there's no actors anymore; it's just movie stars. I'm like, and I think sometimes Matt Damon is thrown into that thing of like, oh, there's just a movie star, he's not an actor. I'm like going, he is such a good actor that he can actually sell this to you,
Yeah.
and it's like I said the same because like this is a tangent now, but I remember I was watching Avengers: Age of Ultron recently enough, and I said to a friend of mine, I want to meet the guy that made the decision to give Ultron a movable face in the movie so I could punch them in their face. And he was like, why? I said, James Spader, who plays Ultron, is a fantastic actor. And he has this way that he just chews his words and his facial expressions with those words is amazing. But he's also so good that he can get that across with his static face, which is what Ultron has. And you see that in the first sequence with Ultron when he's the broken
Mm.
Iron Man suit, and in the last sequence when he's the last drone. You see his
Mm.
ability to emote through the fucking whatever. And we were robbed of, like, James Spader is great in that movie, but we were robbed of a standout performance by the fact that Ultron has a movable face. And yeah, like I remember, and to bring it kind of back is Tom Hardy has worked twice with Christopher Nolan, and both times half of his face has been obscured. So
Mm.
we get to we hear his dialogue, but we see his emotion through the top half of his head, which is like the sign of a really, really good actor selling you this thing. And you don't need full face to do it. So here, you don't need the sound or the music to believe what Matt Damon is selling you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Was there anything else in your loves that you had?
I do want to say one thing, and it fucking pains me to say it because I fucking hate the prick. Travis Scott's Bard, I quite liked the whole, using his staff to bang on the ground as a beat to him retelling the story. I liked that. I hate Travis Scott, but I quite like that thing.
I wasn't the biggest fan of it.
Mm.
I didn't hate it either.
Mm-hmm.
I think I thought it was kind of meh. But yeah, no, I see. Okay, so let's just do a quick. I will say quick because we're already an hour and 40 minutes into this. Let's do a quick run through of the movie, right? And I do have in our notes here. I have a sort of a side by side with the poem, so in case you want to double check it. So, like I said, the film begins with a time of apparent magic, and the word apparent is interesting there because in some ways, I think the Odyssey is one of the final magical stories. In a way, we get a little bit of it in the Aeneid, but like this is sort of the beginning of the end of the gods' direct involvement in a way. So it's a time of apparent magic, and then we have, like you said, we have the bard and the thump a face, thump, and again, what I do like about that is it sort of brings it back to the fact that this was an oral tradition.
Yeah.
So I like that the beat helps keep him on track of this and this and this.
It may have been sold like a bit better with a actual actor as opposed to Travis Scott, but
yes.
but like Christopher Nolan said, like, oh, he wanted a rapper because he equated it to bards being musicians and poets and whatever but going perfect. There's a lot of other rappers out there that are better than fucking Travis Scott that could have done this.
Yeah. So he begins telling the story. It's like boom, a face meeting Helen, a man, whatever, and we start with seeing Sinon and the horse, which is at this point half buried in the sand. Now, I said to you on Sunday, I quite liked the horse design. I have since come to realize it's the most fucking impractical thing in the history of ever. Because while Christopher Nolan didn't like the whole idea of the horse standing upright with wheels, because he's like, why the fuck who would bring that into their city?
Yeah.
Who would design a horse bucking as a place for men to hide for days on end?
So,
because when they move it, the men just keep being thrown on top of each other, and it's a highly it's a beautiful, but highly impractical.
So, I agree with you. Like, I've never liked the idea of like the thing being on wheels because it's meant to be a gift to the gods. Why would they put wheels on it? Like, just for someone to fucking cart it away? It's always been stupid. I like the idea of the rearing version of it because if you think about it, it is impractical for men to fucking be there. Because I don't know if you have it in your notes, but as to the sequences as to what's happening inside the horse while they're waiting for it to be.
And people are fucking drowning. They're living in their own piss and shit. And fucking.
And then the bit where they come out, like there's a bit where, like, once when Odysseus lands, he has to like shake off the fucking cramps in his leg. And I was like, very funny that they're all getting Charlie horses inside a horse.
But yeah, so we have the horse and we have Sinan and we have um you know Sinan saying they've left and they let and they she sorry pardon he says that they left the horse as an offering to Athena.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't checked the Odyssey to see, but what the fuck does Athena have to do with horses?
Yeah, no,
Nothing.
like, yeah,
It's Poseidon.
it's meant to be Poseidon.
Yeah, so I get this is Nolan's way of trying to like include Athena in all things, but like for me it was a bit weird. Um then we have Penelope saying stop. Anything but that. And this is where we have our first big difference between the poem and the film, because in the poem, Telemachus tells her to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
In the film, he doesn't do that. But this is where we get our introduction to the suitors and to Telemachus, and Penelope's behind the screen, which I don't quite get what the point of that was.
Mm.
And we also get Antinous's lie, which is a complete Nolan fabrication. This isn't in
Yeah.
any of the ancient texts, which is
Mm-hmm.
that he wanted to go and Odysseus said no. And you're like, okay, fair enough. In the book, there's a couple of things missing around this thing, which is the whole thing of Athena going to Zeus and saying, Odysseus has been at Ogygia for 7 years, let him go home, wah wah wah. And then she goes and visits Telemachus to see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Athena in disguise. We don't get that here. It's kind of implied when we've got the old beggar coming in and Telemachus says, oh, you've got wise eyes, Athena's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you could sort of maybe infer that was Athena. I have a theory that I'm going to say at the end about all of this. Um, I think as a scene, it's fine. I think in terms of Penelope's later crash out, but like I've been ruling for 20 years, the scene shows that she really fucking hasn't been.
Mm-hmm.
These suitors do whatever the fuck they want. And there's no oversight from her whatsoever. Um, but yeah, anything in that opening bit that jumps out at you or that was bothering you or that you particularly enjoyed?
Mm, I think again, it's like that scene is very much sold by Robert Pattinson and Corey Hawkins.
Hmm.
Just like the arrogance of the suitors. With with Penelope, yeah, there's this weird sort of like dowager empress type of vibe. You know, do not
Yeah.
peek behind the whatever. So I I was always curious about that because from what I remember, Penelope was never like afraid to stand to them.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like it was a visual choice, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what we also get after this is we get Argus.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Argus. Um, and we get the introduction of Argus as a character
Yeah.
as his litter mates are being yeeted off the side of the
Yeah.
cliff,
Just
which is just
very,
fucking crazy.
very casually, just poof, gone.
Yeah. But so there's a couple of things that we get here. We get like Antinous's version of what it was like with Odysseus before. We get what's the shepherd's name? I've forgotten the name.
Yeah, Eumaeus.
Eumaeus's version from his point of view. We get to see Telemachus training with Mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see a lot of that. A lot of that I think works quite fine. I think it builds it up quite well. Um, but what we have the scene with the beggar, the traveler,
Mm-hmm.
who says, "Oh, I was at Troy," blah blah, and tells Telemachus to go to Sparta to see Menelaus and Helen. Which, spoiler alert, he does. Meaning we completely missed the first place that he went,
Yeah.
which was to see Nestor. And I really wanted to see Nestor because I like Nestor and I think he's cool. um, I I don't like the fact that they skipped Nestor and they reuse Pylos later, which I don't get why.
Yeah, because
Um,
I would have thought like, so they went to there to pray to Athena for guidance or whatever. But I was going, the way that it's presented, it's almost like that should be Delphi and going to the
yeah,
Oracle, which is
yeah,
Apollo.
yeah. So um in the poem, and we see this in the film as well, Telemachus doesn't tell his mother that he's going.
No.
He says to Euryclea, don't tell her. I'm gonna go. Don't tell her I'm leaving. Um, in the film, we then get the introduction to Calypso.
Mm-hmm.
So Odysseus looks physically older. He's got grey hair and grey in his beard, and she's feeding him a lotus flower. And we see in later scenes this fucker is addicted
Mm-hmm.
to shoving lotus in his face. So this is the first thing we see where Nolan is conflating the island of the lotus eaters, where Odysseus knew not to eat the lotus flower,
Yeah.
with Calypso, and combining those two things into one. And he starts, we're going through then the retelling of, what happened. So we have him leaving Troy and deciding to take a different route to Agamemnon because he doesn't want to fucking follow Agamemnon anymore. So
Yeah.
he picks a different route to go home, which I always found was an interesting decision on his part.
Yeah.
Just go, fuck it, we're going to go this way. Why, whatever. I do think it's lovely, but like we see Sinan's grave, and that he did bury Sinan, which is double down on later. And we see the first and only landing and sacking that the Ithacans do on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
So they leave Troy, they land on an island, they sack it. These people are terrified of them. They think they're the invaders from the sea. The invaders from the sea is a big thing in this film for some reason.
Yeah, which is because like the Sea Peoples is a historical thing, which kind of is that the people equate with a lot of like the fall of the
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 Bronze
higher,
Age.
yeah, like the higher the higher dynasties in Egypt and Minoa and Crete and all, and Minos and Crete and all this type of stuff. And here it's like this weird analogy for the downfall of society. And then it's very ham-fisted, and that actual like that ending, it's in the ending as well. It's very, this is kind of shoehorned in.
Yeah. So we get the landing and the first sacking, and then we get the Cyclops.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we have Odysseus showing some level of intelligence by saying where there's one sheep, there's more, because sheep travel in flocks. They follow sheep in, and we do have again lifted from the text that Polyphemus, who is never named in the film, because he doesn't talk, and none of the other Cyclopes are there. It's just him on his own, his big, buck ugly, naked self. But he has these hanging receptacles of cheese.
Yeah.
And Odysseus helps himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy's like, oh, we'll build a fire. Zeus's law will protect us. Zeus's law means we can come into anyone's fucking house and we can eat their food.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to be nice to us because we could be Zeus in disguise. Fucking stupid explanation of fucking Xenia. Yeah. Anyway, so they build a big fire. And then in comes the Cyclops. Now, I will say that the Cyclops is practical. The guy who plays the Cyclops, I had his name there a while ago.
Bill Irwin.
Bill Irwin. I do like Bill Irwin. So we get the Cyclops. The Cyclops looks very weird.
Yeah.
It's not just a big guy with one eye. The eye is like sideways.
Yeah.
And it looks like his face has been kind of smushed.
Yeah.
To the side. And he immediately starts eating people. Like fucking straight away.
Yeah.
There is no talking, which is a big difference. So the big thing in the poem was that Polyphemus can talk.
Yeah.
And Odysseus refused to say his name. He said that he was nobody.
Yeah.
This is a joke that, like, today, this would be considered the most corny joke in the history of mankind. I'm nobody.
Yeah.
Because then when Polyphemus gets his eye plucked out or burned or whatever, the other Cyclopes are like, who burned you? And he
Yeah.
says, nobody.
Yeah.
This
Nobody has
poem was written thousands of years ago. And I love that there's the ultimate embodiment of a fucking dad joke
Yeah.
in this story from so long ago. Nolan decided not to do it because he said, oh yeah, it didn't really translate to modern times or whatever. Fuck you, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Whatever. Um, so there is no talking. So it's all just nature, I
Yeah.
suppose, is kind of the way that's done. Um, I mean, I wanted talking. I don't. Did you want talking? Did you want the conversation?
So it's an iconic sequence in the story. It is because it shows Odysseus's wits,
Mm.
and it does paint Polyphemus as a villain to be overcome. Here, though, I remember saying to you at the time, it paints Polyphemus as a more sympathetic figure
Mm.
because he is just behaving almost like an animal. That
Yeah.
something has wandered into its home. It is an intruder. It's delicious, and he decides to keep it. And
Mm.
then when they escape, and like they do the whole eye pluck thing, they do the fucking stupidity of the wafty hand thing, and after they leave, so there's a big whole thing of like Odysseus is so arrogant that he says, "It was I, Odysseus of Ithaca." At which point, because the gods are more present, Polyphemus says, "Oh, Father Poseidon, you know, hurt that prick, yeah,
Mm.
like, or kill that motherfucker." And whereas here, though, as a parting shot in anger for the men that he's lost, he shoots an arrow at the blind Cyclops,
Mm.
which pisses it off, and then it chases after him. Here, though, it's like it's it's very vindictive. Like, okay, it's an act of aggression for the men that he lost, but you've already blinded the fucking thing. It its life is already impacted.
Mm.
So it's a very vindictive thing, and it paints the Cyclops as a much more sympathetic figure. I think the
Yeah.
sequence is, as I said, bar the wafty hand, the sequence is incredible because Odysseus tells everyone to, when he realizes, oh shit, that this thing is not who we thought it is, he tells them to step out of the firelight into the
Mm.
shadows, and then you just see the hand come and snatch a man away, and the music, and just the, again, as you say, it's so practical, and you can tell like it's not a real person, it's like a fucking little wax figure or whatever, but when he bites into it, oh, it's incredible. It's
Yeah,
so well
and
done.
and the filming of that sequence, there was a good clip of that. New Rockstars covered it. They filmed it in an actual cave,
Mm,
and the cave's fucking huge. So like, this
yeah,
is, again, the practicality of it, I think, is great. What I'd like to point out, right, is this happens about maybe what, half an hour into the film,
about that.
maybe. Um, in the poem, that gets recounted in book 9.
Yeah, it's a 24 book poem, and this is like, yeah, over a quarter of the way into it.
Yeah, it's in book 9. Um, and we do get like the bits that we missed, by the way. So, um, we miss Odysseus leaving Calypso
Mm-hmm.
because they've now reframed this as he stays there. We've missed Nausicaa. We've missed the palace of Queen Arete and King Alcinous. And also Queen Arete. Um, we missed songs of Troy being sung by that bard that you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned earlier. That's not included. Um, and the beginning of him recounting his story, because that was all conflated in with Calypso.
Yeah.
So what came between the Cyclones, which are the island that they raided, and Polyphemus, is the land of the Lotus Eaters.
Mm-hmm.
So where basically they eat this fruit that makes them get high and forget things.
Yeah.
Over. So they leave that, and then we cut to Telemachus going to Sparta,
Mm-hmm.
where he meets Menelaus and Helen. And there's a little bit where Mentor goes to sit down next to Menelaus, and Menelaus says, "No, not you," and he wants Telemachus. And it takes a while for eventually it's Menelaus who says, "You are Telemachus," whereas in the poem it's Helen who recognizes this Telemachus. And we get what I think is the worst representation of that relationship in that retelling of whatever. She goes to describe what happened to Agamemnon, and Menelaus isn't fucking having any of it. Menelaus quotes the line in a sort of paraphrase version. Yes, this is the face that launched 1,000 ships, which isn't from Homer, is from Marlowe, and shows that he has scarred her on her face and on her arms. Now, I was waiting in the film, not gonna lie, for the reveal that she got scarred during the burning of Troy.
Yeah.
No. Menelaus fucking did it. Which is just like, okay. And there is, I think it's in Trojan Women, or else it's in Helen. It's in one of them. Where Hecuba, the wife of Priam, the queen of Troy, says to Menelaus, he says, I'm going to put Helen on trial when we get home. He doesn't put her on trial when she gets home. And she's like, please kill her, please. And he's like, no, we'll put her on trial. She'll whatever. And she's like, cool, just don't go on the same ship as her. Right? And the implication is because Hecuba knows that as soon as they set out to fucking sail, he'll have his leg over and they'll be fucking riding the whole way home.
Yeah.
He says, why has she gotten fat?
Yeah.
Which is very different from angry fucking Punisher man scarring her face.
Yeah.
But
like even that way, a small part of me holds out for the idea that he didn't do it as a no man will want you type thing, in the sense of like when he found her, he was so angry that he fucking clattered her without the intention of causing permanent damage. He just ended up causing permanent damage. But it's such a weird route to go down.
It's the way he grips her face.
Yeah, it's such a. We mentioned it before when we were in our likes and dislikes thing, but it's kind of more or less a given that of the two brothers, Menelaus is the better. He's the more honorable. Like, he still has his faults, but he's the one that stands over Patroclus's body in the fight so that he isn't taken away. No, he at one point he kind of goes, fuck this, but then I think, is it Athena sends him back to stand over the bike, or just Hera, whichever one of them. Like, he does do it intentionally, but then he wants to go away, but whatever. So he is the honorable one. And in the poem, they have reconciled. Like, they are the strong relationship, as you say. Like, they weren't a love match. They were, well, they're not a political match. They're not a love match. That's a slight little thing in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here it's kind of, for fuck's sake, you know.
Yeah, and we have Menelaus retelling the story, whereas obviously in Homer it was Helen who tells the story. And I know you were saying there was a bit where you wanted Helen speaking to all the men and whatever
in the horse to try and lure them out.
Yeah. We also get Alcinous going to Penelope and saying, where the fuck is Telemachus? And revealing that he knows she's been unweaving every night, and we get the reveal that her maidservant or whatever grasped her up.
Yeah.
And one of the things I didn't like about this is that we never actually see her unweaving anything.
No.
And I was going to make a quick comparison to The Return, which I'll talk about more at the end. But in The Return, we do see the unweaving. And the interesting thing, and again, Natalie Haynes makes a big deal of this, it's not like knitting or crochet. unweaving a tapestry is not the same as weaving a tapestry. It is tedious, back-breaking work that she would have done at night on her own. I would have loved to have seen Anne Hathaway do that scene, even if they only showed it once, because the way it's done in The Return, chef's kiss. It's brilliant. It's fantastically done. But we have Altynus be all up in her space and basically saying, "Oh, Odysseus wanted this. He left me here to take care of you." It's snivy and weird, and I don't know what the fuck Christopher Nolan was doing putting that in. I think it's after this we also get the flashback to them when Telemachus was a baby. And we see from Penelope's point of view Odysseus telling her marry someone else, which again I question. Why? Then we have they land on the island of the Laestrygonians, which is not the way it is in the book. It also misses something, which is because this is a time of apparent magic, we don't go to Aeolus. They don't get a bag containing the four winds. And the whole thing with that is they get to Ithaca. They can fucking see it. And some curious asshole opens the bag and blows them back. And then they encounter the Laestrygonians. So we've missed that whole bit.
It's not even curious. It's the fact that the crew are convinced that Odysseus has hoarded wealth for himself that he hasn't shared as part of like the mandatory, you give like a fraction of the loot to your underlings. Yeah. Also, we didn't get Menelaus wrestling an old ship-shifting sea god.
We didn't.
To be fair, like it would again.
I think that would have taken from it.
Yeah.
But that's also what else? Because he finds out. What does he find out there? Because he finds. Oh yeah, no, right. Good point. We don't have Menelaus fighting Proteus, which was what Menelaus had to do to get home. And I agree. Does it really belong in this film?
See, because
but what he finds out there is he finds out that Odysseus is on the island of Ogygia with Calypso, because of what is it? Proteus tells him that.
Yeah, because
so in the film, Telemachus never knows where Odysseus is.
Yeah, because I can't remember if you said it at the thing but the reason why everyone had different times coming home is because during the fall of Troy, Ajax the Lesser, rapes. We don't know whether it's Cassandra or a priestess, but he rapes someone in the temple of Athena.
Yeah.
Or are we conflating that with the Medusa thing? I can't remember.
No, so it is. So Athena is. I think they are raped in the temple of Athena, or no, it is because he rapes someone.
Yeah.
I'm remembering it being Cassandra. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But someone had claimed sanctuary in the temple of Athena.
Yeah.
Ajax the Lesser came in, raped her, and then like all the Greeks like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? That's fucking what the fuck. He takes sanctuary in another temple of a lesser god. Athena is pissed and goes to Zeus and says, fuck them up on the way home.
Yeah.
And so there's a big storm that leads everyone going in different fucking directions.
Yeah.
And Ajax the Lesser gets fucked by Poseidon and everyone else. They all fuck him up.
Yeah, he ends up getting like smashed on the rocks. Agamemnon is the fastest one to get home. And then like Nestor and all them, they all have their different things as well.
Yeah.
But what is it with fucking Jesus? Everyone is desecrating Athena's temples in these stories. But anyway.
But yeah, so where we're at in the film, we would be on like book 10 in the poem. And there's a lot that was missed there.
Yeah.
What we do see in the film, which is true to the poem, is that Telemachus does spend a lot of time with Menelaus and Helen. Except all we see is him spending time with Menelaus and spending no time with Helen.
Yeah.
So Odysseus and they go to the land of the Estragonians.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because it's one of the big posters of the film. I don't get the armor that they have. It makes no sense. I did think the trees thing was kind of cool. But I don't. That whole sequence for me was a bit lackluster.
So, I mentioned this in the car on the way back, but some of the aesthetics in this, it almost reminded me as if I'm watching a filmed version of a play.
Yeah.
Because the Trojan armor, the helmets they have look very like the masks of an old Greek chorus. And then with the Greek armor, it's it's an anachronistic brush helmet, like the leather cuirasses, that type of thing. But then to sell the spectacle of the Lystragonians being big entities, having them padded in big clanker armor, it's like something that you would see on a stage production.
Yeah, it's also my issue is also like I don't necessarily mind them wearing armor, but the armor is all identical.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, no, I like again, like just have them be large lion clothed if you don't want them to be large fucking naked men. Just be something to get across the fact that they are savage.
Yeah, and we're seeing through all of this that the men are really turning against Odysseus. They're questioning what he's doing, in a big way. And next they arrive on Circe's island. So Odysseus has them sail up the coast because he's like, basically, the Laestrygonians can't be the only fucking people who live here. Was basically his kind of point.
Yeah.
And he was like, sail up the coast, and they land on the beach. And at the top of the hill is a hut that in the poem is a palace of Circe. And this is where we have another change because all of the men, bar Odysseus and one other guy who doesn't have a name, they go up to Circe's house. And Odysseus is forced to stay behind because they all agree they don't fucking want him. Because from their point of view, and this is an interesting thing, is that even though the gods aren't really mentioned in the same way as they are in the poem, even though we don't have the conversation with Polyphemus, the men are blaming him for everything. And they blame him for the Polyphemus thing and that Poseidon is now against them.
Yeah.
Which I think makes more sense in the poem when they've had a conversation than it does in the film, personally speaking. But they say, you stay behind. Cool. Yeah. They all go up. He goes off hunting and leaves one fucker behind with the boat.
Just think, one of the crew does say that the Cyclops is the son of Poseidon. And
but the Cyclops doesn't know who Odysseus is.
Yeah.
So
but it was like the
it makes Poseidon much more omnipresent as opposed to being a prayer of Father Odysseus hurt my eye.
Yeah, just imagine like Poseidon having like a daiquiri, just spit take. He fucking what? Screw him.
So we see the men going up, and we see all these animals, these tamed lions, and all these other animals that looked very badly CG'd into it. I don't know if it was just you, but they seemed very out of. Like, they seemed like they weren't in the frame. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like the tiger, especially the tiger, felt very CG.
Yeah. And they go up, and meanwhile Odysseus is off hunting a deer or something, and we have this very tense moment, which is tense for those of us who know what's going to happen, where Odysseus is hunting this animal, and the men meet Circe, and she offers to feed them, but they have to leave all their weapons outside, and these men are so fucking stupid that even though they see a load of old armor and weapons outside, they still take off their armor and weapons and go inside. And then we have, she's feeding them. Odysseus shoots the deer, and when he gets to it, it has turned into a human person. And he's like, fuck, there's something magic going on, and he runs off to find them. In the poem, Eurylochus didn't go in.
No.
And he ran back to Odysseus and said, oh my god, just turn them onto pigs, Here he is also turned into a pig. And we get what I described in one of the things that I didn't like. We get a year's worth of thing in one conversation.
Yeah.
He goes up, there's no Hermes. Odysseus doesn't taste any moly, which was like this plant that would make it that Circe's magic didn't work on him.
Mm-hmm.
He takes a dagger from the guy at the boat. He went hunting without a dagger. Weird. And he goes up and, like, I think the scene is good. I just think it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Where she's trying to get him to slaughter a pig and he's failing.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, it's like, oh, you wouldn't abide by Zeus's law. I get the fucking Zeus's law shit comes up again. And basically, he's like, oh, why do I need to kill a pig? There's plenty of food here. We'll be fine. I don't need a pig. And then she's like, well, you lied to me. You brought a knife into my home. And he's like, cool. And he sticks his hand in the cage and grabs the bird by the neck. The bird, that up until now, has been kind of like, no, run away. Run very far away.
Mm-hmm.
Not speaking, obviously, but just
this bitch is crazy.
And he's like, who is this bird to you? And she's like, it's my sister. And he's like, why did you leave her like this? We get along better this way. That's so random.
Yeah.
But basically, Cersei's whole thing is that she turned them into pigs because that's who they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, did they hurt you? And she's like, no, but they would have.
Yeah.
And where I think this scene doesn't work is because we've seen them. So we know that they came off the battlefield at Troy. And they sacked one place between then and now. I don't know about you, but it kind of feels like they came in, they left their weapons outside. They were being really nice to her. And she offered them food and they sat down and ate. And her thing is, well, they would have raped me eventually, so fuck it, turn them on to pigs because that's who they really are. And Odysseus is like, I won't hurt you. Here's the dagger as proof. Change them back. And for some reason she agrees. And she changes them back. I do like she says, go back into your disguises.
Yeah.
At the human form of the disguise.
Yeah.
But this is much longer in the poem.
Yeah. I mean, like, for fuck's sake, she has a son with him.
Yeah, it's weird. And she tells him, you must go to the underworld and you must see blind Tiresias. Mm-hmm. So they set sail to the underworld. Mm-hmm. The underworld sequence I both liked and didn't like. I liked it because I thought the Sinon thing was great. I thought Tiresias was great. I didn't like it because of who we meet. So we meet Sinon, who wasn't in the Odyssey, so whatever. And Sinon recounts, no, he lied to you. I wanted to swap with him so he'd take care of my family, but he didn't. My father died a peasant. Da-da-da. That was all made up by Christopher Nolan. We get Agamemnon, who warns him about unfaithful wives and beware of coming home and expecting a hero's welcome. And we get the fallen Greek heroes in terms of the people of Ithaca who've fallen in battle. What we don't get is his mother who died of grief, who tells him about Penelope and the suitors. We don't get Achilles, which is bananas. Because Achilles' whole thing is, I would rather be a slave to the land than be king among the dead. Which is basically, this whole thing about war and warriors and heroes, it's all fucking bullshit. I'd rather be a fucking farmer than have died as the great Achilles. And we also don't get Ajax. So there's a lot of people missing from this sequence. And then randomly all the dead decide to chase them back to the boat.
Yeah, because there was the thing of like they were the unburied dead. But despite the fact that really the only person we're ever told about being an unburied is Elpenor, which is why they have to go back to Circe's island.
Yeah. So they don't go back to Circe's island, they keep going. Tiresias won't tell the men, but tells Odysseus about Scylla and Charybdis. Basically, if you go by Scylla, you lose 6 men. If you go by Charybdis, you lose everybody. And Odysseus is like, I'm going to save everybody. And he's like, yeah, right. Good luck.
Yeah.
We also get the Song of the Sirens
Mm-hmm.
at this point.
Tiresias also tells him about the sun god's cattle.
Oh yeah, and don't eat the sun god's cattle. That's the other one. Yeah. So again, a lot of information from Tiresias. Some of which actually came from Cersei when they went back to bury your man, but they didn't go back to Cersei in this, so whatever.
Yeah.
So we have the siren sequence. Like you said, I think it was a good sequence. I think they did it really well. I love that we get the continued mistrust of Odysseus by his men.
Mm-hmm.
Of why do you get to be the one to listen? Mm-hmm. Fucking dope. Just we'll just all row past. Like, what the fuck? Even though there is a logic to having one person be able to hear it, because then you know when you're past it.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, do you mind if I go briefly back to the Achilles thing?
Yeah.
So there's been an awful lot of fucking talk about Achilles in relation to this thing. There was like the misinformation saying that Elliot Page is going to be playing Achilles. Then there was this thing of like, oh, he's playing Sinon and Achilles isn't in the movie and it's an erasure of Achilles and all this type of shit. And okay, one, for the sake of the plot of the Odyssey, Achilles represents zip. He is a commentary about, as you said, the fallacy that war is a glorious thing.
Mm.
Because he was destined to be, my legend is great, but I'm fucking dead before I lived half my life. And here I am stuck in the underworld where I am no better than anyone. And I would much rather be alive, as you said, like a farmhand, than be king down here, because I cannot be king down here.
Mm.
So there's that side of things. So yeah, like, but in terms of the plot whole side of things, like Odysseus getting home, him not being in there isn't a huge thing. But what I will want to say is that Achilles has been put up on this really weird fucking pedestal, because again, the Elliot Page thing. And I'm going, two things, lads. One, Achilles hid on an island full of women as a woman for several years to avoid his fate. And I don't care what anyone says, he was at least bisexual, because he did have a wife, because that's how he had Neoptolemus, his fucking insane son, but also Patroclus, because as Natalie Haynes says, you do not fucking weep for days on end, try and pull your hair out or tear your body apart over the loss of a quote-unquote good mate.
Yeah, and also it's not his cousin like it is in the fucking...
Yeah, no, it's
Troy.
Not. Highly recommend read the Song of Achilles to anybody.
Yeah, I would say as well about the whole Achilles thing is that Achilles not being in any other part of the film, I don't care, because Achilles was dead.
Yeah.
It was Neoptolemus that raided Troy with Odysseus and Agamemnon. It was Neoptolemus that killed Priam.
Yeah, like Achilles' death is lost entirely. There is a fragment which says that he was killed at one of the gates of Troy before the city actually fell.
Yeah. And the reason why I kind of wish we'd had Achilles in the underworld is mainly because I don't like the portrayal of Agamemnon. Agamemnon had to be there because Agamemnon is the comparison of good wife, bad wife, good homecoming, bad homecoming.
Yeah.
But Achilles also, when you think about, like, when people think of the Odyssey, they think of adventure, right? And that's not what it is. It's a coming home story. Yeah. And Achilles really does drive home that whole idea of, forget what your wife thinks of you. We're all nothing. What we did means nothing. We are nothing. We should have stayed where the fuck we were. I think probably the reason why they didn't do it is because they had the Sinon bit. And Sinon kind of was the bit of Achilles and a bit of Elpenor and sort of all mixed up into one. I said, I do like Elliot Page and that's the scene. I do like the Sinon bit. But I think it's interesting that the only mention we get of Achilles at all is when Menelaus mentions him by name.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other mention of Achilles. Or any of the others other than the ones that we actually directly meet.
Yeah.
So then we have Scylla and Charybdis, where Odysseus. I mean, at this point, Odysseus is sort of like, my men fucking hate me. He's sat in a boat looking sad. And he tries to convince them to go through Charybdis.
Yeah.
And we find out later that the reason he tried to convince them to go through Charybdis was that they would definitely go through Scylla's passage instead. And 6 of his men get yeeted off the boat. And I think it was a weird choice to do it that way. Like, because Odysseus is no longer giving orders on his own ship. No one's following his orders anymore. So he has to sort of trick them into going arguably the easier way. It's just the more immediately violent way.
Sorry to derail your conversation, but see, I always used to pronounce her Scylla, but now I've heard a lot more Scylla, and now just this image of like a demonic Scylla Black just going "Tara, Tara, motherfucker," and just jumping on people. What's your name, Chuck?
No, love it. But yeah, so they lose 6 men. The men are like, "You asshole! You made 6 men die." Like, Odysseus is like, "Fuck you all! You're horrible people. I don't want anything to do with you anymore." And then they land on the island of the sun god. I'm trying to remember. Did they mention it was the island of Apollo in the film?
No, they just call him the sun god because it is
it's Helios in the
it's they're Helios's cat. See, this is the whole thing. It's like going, like, Helios is technically a titan, but he was one of the good behavior titans that didn't get fucking locked in Tartarus after the Titan War. So it's like he shares responsibility for the sun with Apollo.
Yeah. So basically he says, "Don't eat the fucking cows at all." And they're like, "No problem. We need to fix the boat. There's plenty of other food here. We'll be fine." And what happens? No wind. They're stuck on the island.
Yeah.
And one night he wakes up because he has chronic fucking sleep apnea or whatever. And he finds his men have dug out a pit.
Yeah.
To kill a cow and eat it.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay as much attention to it, but you said to me on Sunday that, like, they all look so emaciated.
Yeah. So in the underworld sequence, all the dead are like, they're either smeared. The way that it's done is so cool. It's like this weird black sand beach, and they rise up from it. So like they've got bits of wet sand coming off them, but they're all blue skinned. And in this pit, because the guys are so emaciated and because of the lighting contrasting with the shadow, they do look blue skinned and emaciated, in the sense of they are dead men because of what they're doing out. They're dead men. Yeah.
So they basically said to Odysseus, "Fuck you! Like, what the fuck did you expect us to do?" And then the wind comes back and they all get to leave. Similar enough to how it went in the poem. Zeus is like, "Fuck you!" Destroys the ship. Right? In the poem, what happens is the ship gets split in 2, like it does here. And Odysseus actually gets sent back to Charybdis. And through Charybdis ends up in Ogygia. We do hear some of the men screaming Charybdis in the film. So I think the implication is that they got pulled back to Charybdis and eaten. And he got spat out. At which point in the poem, this is where he's basically said, "And there ends my story. And then I stayed there for 8 years, fucked her for a bit. Hermes came along, she made me a raft, I left, I landed here, and now we're back where we started."
I don't think they were saying Charybdis. I think they were telling him to pray for forgiveness.
Maybe.
Yeah, because of the storm. I think they were telling him pray for forgiveness.
Oh no, they did that as well, but I think at the end
Oh, gotcha.
of the sequence. And so in the poem at this point, the Phaeacians put together a ship and loads of presents, and they send Odysseus home, and he falls asleep, and so in his sleep they take him off the boat, put him on Ithaca, and they sail away, and Poseidon punishes them by turning them into stone.
Yeah.
In the film, this doesn't happen. We have like the end of the thing with Calypso, where he's like, I have a wife, I have a son, I need to leave. In the poem, she offered him immortality, and he turned it down.
Yeah.
And in Natalie Haynes' recap, she has this lovely line where she's like, you are, prettier than Penelope, but no, I want to go home. And Cersei's like, well, I'm taller than she is, which wouldn't have worked in the film, but no. I just love the way Natalie Haynes recapped it. And basically, what she basically says is, you need to give yourself over to the gods. You've been denying the gods this whole time, pretending like they don't exist. You need to give yourself over. So he makes a really shitty raft, lies on it, and basically gives himself up to the will of the gods. And eventually he lands back on Ithaca.
Yeah.
Throughout all of this, he's been seeing who he calls Athena, which is played by Zendaya. He's the only one who sees her. No one else ever sees her. Telemachus then leaves Sparta to head back home to share the information that he has learned, which is nothing, because Menelaus didn't fight.
Nestor.
No, Menelaus didn't fight.
Oh, Proteus.
Proteus didn't tell him about Ogygia. So all Telemachus has learned is what the bards already fucking told him.
Yeah.
Great. We have Helen runs forward, and again, this is one of the things we're saying where Helen not having agency. She can't even speak to him out loud. She has to run to him, throw her arms around him, and say, "Tell your mother I'm sorry for everything." And then she kind of gets pulled off him again. And it's like, whatever. And we find out that the suitors have now set a trap for Telemachus on Pylos. So he has to stop at Pylos on the way back, apparently. Also, like, it's sort of suggested that Pylos is on the same land as Ithaca. It's a bit weird. And so the suitors sent off some guys who Telemachus wouldn't recognize to kill him. Basically, he can't make it back, because if he comes back with news of Odysseus, then Penelope won't pick someone. Blah blah blah. Odysseus finds this out from the
Eumaeus, the blind swineherd.
Swineherd, yeah. There's a very sad scene there where he's like, "Oh, where are your hunting dogs?" And he's like, "I'm burning them because the fuckers killed them," which is terribly sad.
To take his pigs, and then he asks, "Did your herd boys not help?" And he said,
"We burned them first."
Yeah, we burned them first.
Yeah. So Odysseus goes to Pylos to save his son. He mentions Eumaeus, which makes Telemachus pay attention to him. Mentor dies, and we get a very interesting moment where Telemachus... Well, there's a whole fight sequence. Odysseus is a badass. Mentor still dies. And Telemachus is mourning Mentor. He says, "Oh, sometimes I felt like I was talking to Athena when I was talking to Mentor." And Odysseus says, "Don't look for gods in men." Which is an interesting take by Odysseus, who, in the poem, Athena has been his stalwart supporter this entire time.
Yeah.
They head back to Ithaca, and Odysseus has told Telemachus that he knew his father, that he fought in the war with him, and whatever. And they come up with a plan. Telemachus returns, tells Penelope the plan, but not properly. Basically says, myself and Menelaus have agreed that you need to pick someone. And if you don't pick someone, then I'll become king, and Menelaus will back me. But I can't kill the suitors, because if I do, I'll be exiled. There's this whole thing about being exiled if you kill the suitors. That's when she has her crash out, is like, basically, fuck you. Who are you to tell me what I should do? Menelaus can fuck off. I've been sat on this throne for 20 years, but that means nothing compared to how do you describe it? The whiskers on your chin or something like that.
Yeah.
Implying that he's got like a little baby fluff.
Yeah.
And Anne Hathaway gives her big scene.
Yeah.
And basically they gather all the suitors, and they're all gathered, and this is where Odysseus wants to see the suitors for himself. So Odysseus turns up and he walks past Argus, who's been out on a manure pile for the last week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And he bends down and we see Argus's tail wagging, and then Argus dies.
Yeah.
That's devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what lets Telemachus know this is Odysseus.
Yeah.
Odysseus says, I'm a beggar. And Telemachus is like, aha. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, stranger. Let's do this shit. They go in. Suitors are doing the same thing. Trying to get a rise out of Telemachus. Treating this new beggar like a piece of shit. He mentions to Altinous about Sinon. Altinous gets freaked out and basically calls him a liar. All this kind of stuff. Penelope calls the whole thing off and says she wants to speak to the beggar. Then we have Euryclea washing his feet and seeing a scar that he has on his leg, which is a much more gnarly scar than what I thought it was. In the book, I thought it was one of those things where you've got he has a scar on his heel or something that no one would see. It's fucking half his ankle.
If I think it's correct, if I'm right in thinking that in the poem, it's something pierced his foot the whole way through. So she recognizes him from the scar on his foot, as opposed to this weird half his fucking shin bone is.
Yeah, and he basically tells her to shush, which isn't what he says in the poem. In the poem, he threatens to kill her if she tells him no. And he and Penelope start talking, and he tells her the rest of the story of Troy, and how it was horrendous, and how it was the end of society. And she says, "You're the people from the sea," and he says, "Yeah." In the poem, she tells him about the eye weave deceit thing. She doesn't bother telling him this because whatever. And he mentions the pin, so she knows that he's telling the truth and yada yada. And then we have the challenge.
Before that, though, is while he's recounting this, he's taking a look at Zendaya, who we're assuming to be Athena, and it flashes back to the sack of Troy that just before one of his men beheaded a statue of Athena, they beheaded this woman who was Zendaya. So it's like this thing of, is he imagining Athena? Is this his PTSD demon? Is Athena taking on the personification of this girl to remind him of what he had done? Yeah, it's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, and I'll get more to that in a second when I give what my final read of it was. But that sequence is horrible. It's horrific. It's interesting because if you watch a lot of the promo, the promo interviews, behind the scenes promo interviews, she was wearing her Troy outfit the whole time.
Yeah.
She wasn't wearing her Athena outfit, she was wearing her Troy dress, which is very sweet. Then we have the challenge. Okay, so the crossed arrow, the axes in this case are 12 axes set up with 2 tied to each other into an X shape, and you have to shoot it between them, which still works. It's not quite the shoot it through a gap in the axes thing, but it still works because of the way arrows work. It's still the same thing. And so she basically says, whoever can string the bow, this is my challenge. If you can string the bow, then you can marry me. That's it. The suitors all try. Altinous, who's seen Odysseus do it before, because again, this is the thing that I said this to you. They make a point of saying that Odysseus used to do this a lot. It was his party fucking trick.
Yeah.
So people have seen him string this bow before. And yet none of them fucking remember how to do it. It's just funny. Because it's not just strength, it's the bow, you have to bend it in the opposite direction to what you would instinctively bend it.
Yeah.
Because it's a funny shape.
And you also, in order to do that, you need to twist your body in a certain way as well.
Yeah. So I sent you a video
Yeah, it's a good video.
of a guy. He's an archer from the UK who made a video on it. It's very good. And so they can't string the bow. They can't string the bow. Telemachus tries, which, depending on your read, is either he tries and therefore his mother doesn't have to marry anyone, or he tries and if he succeeds, he has to fuck his mother. Whatever way you want to look at that particular thing.
Wrong story.
He tries to do it, he's failing, and Odysseus gives him the nod, don't bother trying, don't bother trying. Alcinous refuses to try and basically says, this is fucking bullshit. No one's used that bow in years. Pick one of us now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing your fucking thing. We've all failed, whatever. He doesn't even fucking try. And he's like, we've all tried, none of us can do it, whatever. And Odysseus says, I haven't tried yet, I want to try. And he tries, and he does the whole thing, and Penelope starts walking away because she's like, this is fucking ridiculous. And all you hear is flung.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like,
yeah,
whatever. And foop, he shoots the arrow, it goes down through, and this then begins the bloodbath.
Mm-hmm.
Difference from the film to the poem, which I forgot about, which is interesting because I mentioned the return to you on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Alcinous is the last to die in the film. In the poem, he's the first to die.
Yeah.
Because he's a prick. Mm-hmm. So Odysseus killed him first. But we have this whole sequence, which is quite cool. I don't know what your thoughts on it were. Because all the weapons have been removed. Penelope had them all sent upstairs. Mm-hmm. So the suitors have no weapons. And Odysseus has this bow and an infinite supply of arrows. Because Archer in a film. But one of the guys gets out and goes upstairs to get the weapons. And gets locked in the room. Mm-hmm. And so he hacks through the floor to start dropping down weapons.
Yeah.
Which I actually thought was really smart.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a really cool idea. And so we've got fighting on two levels. You've got Telemachus fighting him upstairs. You've got Odysseus just beating the shit out of everyone. And Alcinous in the corner being like, get a spear, get a sword, get a spear, I was like, do something, you tit. Robin Pattinson's performance is very good. Alcinous is just fucking written really weird. And over time, we see people dropping to their knee. They realise this is Odysseus. They realise that he means business, and they start dropping to their knee. Mm-hmm. Whatever. And it ends with Odysseus has been shot like 3 times, and he collapses in front of Penelope, and reveals the little pin, and she's like, no, don't die, you can't die. And he basically says, I'm not going to die, but we're going to go west and Telemachus will be king. And so they completely skipped the bed. Fucking completely skipped the bed part. Fucking 100%. They also kind of skipped the fact that she didn't believe that it was him. They just missed all that as well. And then we have the ending where, because we have this Odysseus fake out. Yeah. Because he kind of goes, huh. And then we see Penelope and Telemachus, with Telemachus as a crown head, walking down to the ships, and there he is on the prow of the ship, and Telemachus is staying being king, and they're going off to honor the dead. Yeah.
Very
and
weird.
He has the most modern fucking bandage on his neck.
Yeah.
In the history of ever.
It gave me very Lord of the Rings, we're taking the ship to the Grey Havens vibes.
Yeah. It does tie back to the scene that I did love at the beginning. Mm-hmm. I just think the payoff of it was shit. Yeah. And then they sail off. But what he says in the boat then is basically that the Bronze Age is over. Mm-hmm. The age of civilization has come to an end. And she says, oh, it'll happen, civilization will return. And he basically gives this whole thing of we're just destined to repeat ourselves. Yeah. Which is a very bonk on the head message. Yeah. What's missing from the poem is the bed, is them sharing their stories, is him reuniting with his father, who, by the way, she's creating a shroud for her father-in-law. Her father-in-law isn't dead. It's just a nice thing you do for someone.
Mm.
The fact that he says, "Oh, we should tell the people outside we're having a wedding," because they have no idea what the fuck is going on. And the fact that like there is the problem of he just killed all these fucking people, and their families are going to want revenge, but Athena intercedes, and basically that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So a lot missing from the book, things doing differently from the book. Um, I've had a lot of time over the last 2 days to think about this. I have an alternative title for this film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the alternative title, and I want to see if you get what I'm trying to imply.
Okay.
So this is called Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
Yeah.
I think it should be called Christopher Nolan's Life of Pi. Because the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
is that the Ithacans, led by Odysseus, were actually the people from the sea.
Mm-hmm.
This horrible evil that was building, that Menelaus was afraid of and everyone was afraid of. We only see him sack one village at the beginning of their story,
Mm-hmm.
and never again. But if you think about Life of Pi, an unreliable narrator,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the time of apparent magic, there was no Cyclops, there was a load of shepherds. There was no this, there was no that. Everything magical that he described, if you think about it as an unreliable narrator, narrating the pillaging and plundering that his people did to give them this moniker of the children of the people from the sea. That is the only way I can make the people from the sea analogy fucking work.
Yeah, I get it. I've never seen The Life of Pi. I haven't read the book, but I get what you're going for with the unreliable narrator side of things. And I thought the people from the sea thing was a bit weird. Now, before I go into that, I want to go back to the fight scene in the thing. So I've watched a couple of versions of that scene over the last couple of days, because what I remember saying to you was, like, I was getting severe dry eye from paying so much attention to it. But I
Mm,
always find a thing in cinemas, when I watch a movie in the cinema, sometimes the frame rate is so fast, things are
mm,
kind of blurred out. Um, in the poem, what happens is Odysseus tells um, Telemachus to make sure the weapons are locked away. Telemachus
yeah,
tells Eumaeus and one other person that they trust, another herdsman, I think, to
yeah,
lock away the weapons. Melanthius, who is the cow herder, or he's some other herder, but he's in league with the suitors. They lock him up, and it's his sister Melanto is the one that takes out that gets the weapons. But as the slaughter is going on, it's pretty much Telemachus and Odysseus killing everyone, and the other two guys are holding the door
mm,
to stop people from coming through. And I've seen, like, I watched the Kirk Douglas version of that scene. I watched the 97 Armando Sante version. I watched some TV movie-ish version, and then I saw the scene from The Return. Now, the Kirk Douglas one is very sword and sandals epic from back in the
mm,
50s, 60s, or whatever. The Armando Sante TV movie or TV miniseries one is really weird. It's like Telemachus is throwing spears into people and they're flying back like 10 feet, and he's like, it's almost like he's weirdly superpowered. It's a bit jarring. The other one it's very poor. It's called Troy the Odyssey. Wasn't fan of it. But what I did find interesting with The Return was it's like he's hunting them down in the thing, because like he shoots the first suitor that tries to step to him, and everyone's kind of shocked. Then he shoots the next one, and then they're fucking diving behind tables and they're diving behind like pillars, and Telemachus is there like to keep him guard, but he's sniping for targets. It's like he is
mm,
like hunting them down in the hall, and it's great. I can't wait to watch the full thing. Here it was very, like, the first couple of shots with the arrow are brilliant, because he shoots the arrow through the axes, and then immediately he starts fucking picking them off, and there's pandemonium as everyone's trying to run, try to escape. The beggars, basically, they don't get involved in the fight, but they stop people from trying to escape. Penelope stops the treacherous handmaiden from trying to escape as well. And then it becomes this Jason Bourne-esque fight because he's picking up anything and everything he can, like, to fight back against the suitors when they start getting the weapons. Although, like, I did find it very, you want to talk about bonk bonk on the head, it was like Belantius would drop a sword down, and Tilly goes, get the swords. Next thing they'll got the shield. Get the shield. Get the spear. Going, they're not that fucking thick. They'll obviously pick up the thing that has come down. So yeah, but that sequence, I enjoyed it. I can't say I prefer it to. I can't say I prefer that or The Return because they're two different styles based on two different presentations of the scale of it. Because I haven't seen it fully, but from what I've seen, The Return is a very stripped down version of the arse end of the Odyssey, essentially.
Yeah, it is literally just The Return. It's just him on Ithcap. That's it. There's none of the 4 times. Yeah, the Return is literally just The Return. It's him on Ithcap, and that's it.
Okay. Back to my thing about the Sea Peoples, though. That felt so jarring because the Sea Peoples is a unexplained, like, still to this day, not everyone's not 100% certain as to, like, were they an analogous for something, were they actually a fucking raiding group from, like, mainland Europe, whatever the case is. And I was like, it's a weird analogy to put in there because, sorry to get real for a moment, we are living in a time when far right rhetoric surrounding immigration is a thing, and we do have people trying to cross channels in boats. So the whole Sea Peoples, invaders from the sea, bringing down civilization, of going, like, I like Christopher Nolan, as far as I understand, is a very progressive individual. If this is his metaphor to be, we need to be accepting of the straight, like, he has really fucking double-edged swords this thing that you can see what you want to see in it, and that's not a good thing because you got some people that will take this as very bad fate, and he's like going, no, like, see, like, we're right to fear people coming from ships, and it's like, no, that's not the fucking point. But I think in the terms of the Odyssey, it's a very weird thing to put into it, and it skews the narrative because I think if you want to make Odysseus a flawed character, his thing about you, like, you can take out the Sea Peoples, but you can absolutely talk to him about, or you can actually have him espouse the whole thing of, we broke a law by how we waged war in Troy, by what we did. And what we did was we tricked our way in, and the result of that was, rather than getting a woman back to her husband, we decimated an entire region. That is not the song of glory. That is not whatever. That would have been perfectly fine. But the whole Sea Peoples analogy and that kind of thing, I think it's out of place.
Yeah.
I think it's out of place.
One thing I would have preferred, in terms of, remove the Sea Peoples things, that makes no sense. In my mind, it makes no sense. One thing I would have preferred is Zendaya as Athena.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zendaya as Athena is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that it's so ambiguous about if it even is Athena, or if it's a figment of his imagination and his PTSD working out, is an interesting thing. Again, this time of apparent magic, right? To tie it more closely in with the myth as a whole, because bear in mind, as we've said, he isn't just going from Homer, he's also going from Marlowe, he's taken bits of Virgil, he's taken bits of everything. I would have preferred if the person Athena was embodying was Andromache.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Andromache? Yeah. Hector's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we had seen Neoptolemus yeeting the baby off out the window, and this woman breaking down and then being taken away, that I think would have had a more emotional connection to Penelope and Telemachus, and why Odysseus keeps seeing this face, personally speaking. It would have tied in a bit more of the myth around the sacking of Troy and the horrible thing that happened there to the named characters from the Iliad. You know, it would have tied in a bit closer to that. And it would have tied in a bit more with his own wife and child that he left behind. Now, part of that might be The Horse and the Infant from Epic is one of my favourite songs from Epic, and so I might be slightly skewed by that. But I think that would have worked a bit better than random girl. Because again, Athena has this line, who doesn't understand pain, who doesn't understand loss, or whatever. And I think if it was the wife of Hector, the greatest warrior the Trojans had ever known, whose child was torn away from her and killed, and she was sold off as a sex slave. She was taken away as a sex slave. I think him seeing Athena as someone else would have been more effective, personally. But that's just me.
I can see where you're coming from with that, but I think for the way that they did the sacking of Troy and Odysseus's reaction to what happened, having her be just a civilian, just the face of a civilian, we kind of, I think we talked about it at Jesus, the trying to manage the timelines in this is, before we saw the Odyssey, we recorded the Curse of Fenric, and we talked about when an ideology stops being something to support, when the actions of that ideology impact the civilian side of things, the collateral damage aspect of it, and how a noble cause, quote unquote noble cause, stops being that when you go outside the parameters of what you're meant to be targeting. Is, if you're in a war, you fight soldiers, you don't fight civilians. And we're always told that, like we're told, like the fall of Troy, like the sacking of the Troy, it's stories, it's the legend, like the legend of Odysseus and Achilles and all these types of things. Odysseus not knowing what's going on, coming back disillusioned, because we thought, we knew that we were fighting for Agamemnon's greed, but we also thought we were fighting for the noble thing of getting Helen back. But then when we just started killing people because we were pissed off, that'll haunt him for however long. I know, and the Andromache thing works great as well. But for the PTSD aspect of it, for just the disillusionment, I think the nameless civilian works just as well.
Yeah. I think the key difference between Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey versus Homer's The Odyssey is the intent behind it. The Odyssey is about what it means to come home. He returns to Ithaca in book, 13 or whatever, and the book is 24 books. The poem is 24 books long. So even when he's home, he's not home because the suitors are there. And even once he's killed the suitors, he's still not home because he and Penelope have to properly reunite. Even then, he's still not home because he's to reunite with his dad. And it's this whole thing. Whereas Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is Oppenheimer 2.0, in my opinion, which is the smart man who won the war and how do you deal with the after effects of what you've done. And those are two very different stories, two very different messages, two very different focuses.
Yeah.
And that's where I think if you're just going to see this as a film and not as an adaptation, I think it works fine as a film. There's a couple of things I find irritating, but film wise. But if you're just going to see it as a film, I think it works fine. But for all the reasons that we've recounted, I don't think it works well as an adaptation.
No.
But in saying that, I think that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, people have, I made the point earlier, my top shelf of books here behind me is, Madeline Miller and Natalie Haynes and Jennifer Saint giving their interpretations
Mm-hmm.
of these stories and these characters. And this is his. Is it one I particularly enjoyed as an interpretation? No, it isn't. And I think the people saying it's the best film of the year, like when people say it's the best film of the year because it ties so well into Christopher Nolan's previous works, I'm like, cool. That makes it a Christopher Nolan film. It doesn't make it an adaptation of the Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
It can be both. I was looking for an adaptation of the Odyssey, though. I wasn't looking for
Yeah.
the next big Christopher Nolan, you know, exploring his own struggles with the fact that he's always away from his kids,
Mm-hmm.
which apparently is a struggle that he himself has. I'm like, cool, that's fine. You've made like 4 films about it.
Yeah.
Get over it. Your kids are grown now. Fuck off. Like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, so did you have any final? Because this is the longest podcast we've ever recorded. I think.
Yeah. No, I think it is. It's longer than the Five Doctors, which I think to this date is our longest one.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts you have on this?
Okay. So, the one thing I want to state, and I've brought it up a few times before, is the reason why we started this podcast, which was at the time we were surrounded by a lot of negativity surrounding pop culture media, and we fucking hated it. So we wanted to be the voice on the other side of things, mostly positive, but still holding shit to account if it was bad, you know?
The gunfighters.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we when we started doing podcasting and stuff like that, we kind of, I don't know about you, but I got exposed a lot more to like online content creators. And I came across like EFAP and the Fandom Menace and the grifting crowd. And it just fucking riled me up so much that I was so glad that we were doing this, that we kept doing this, despite the fact that we had rough patches with, the Peter Davison era and other stuff going on. I'm glad that we kept going. And even though we don't have the fucking largest audience in the world, whatever, we still have a population out there. And it's nice to still have our opinions out there as like, we're not in this for the money, we're not in this for whatever, we're not trying to farm for content or fucking that kind of shit. We're just trying to give our fact-based opinion. And the reason I bring that up is because this movie suffered in the build-up fucking monumentally because of racism, sexism, fucking homophobia, all that bullshit. Yeah. And I recently saw a YouTube video of a YouTuber called Arik Debunks, which is he watches the live streams of these grifters to basically pick apart what they're saying. Kind of like the Birdman, but he does the live stream reaction. And I saw a quick clip of them where they had the fucking gall to say that people who say, oh, you shouldn't watch a thing because it's bad, and try and get you not to form your own opinion by going to watch it, those people are bad. You should watch something and then have your own opinion. And you shouldn't jump to conclusions before you consume the media. And these fuckers had the gall to say this after months of Felon of Detroit and, oh, Sydney Sweeney should be the fucking, Helen of Troy, or fuck it, it's like, oh, there's too many fucking people of color in this fucking thing. Jesus Christ, it's a fictional it's a story about a fictional fantasy epic with fucking monsters, gods, deities, and it's no different than watching a fucking stage play of actors playing parts. Jesus, it does not fucking take it out in any way, fucking shape or form. So, again, I have given out about these fucking individuals a lot. I will continue to do it until they stop being fucking relevant. We have watched this movie. We have given our opinions on this movie. We have been 100% fair. We have portrayed everything as we have seen it. We still, despite the fact that as an adaptation of the Odyssey, as I said, it's fairly low down. As a movie, it's very good. But that being said, please watch the film for yourselves. Go form your own opinion of it. Enjoy it, hate it, do whatever, but just consume it yourself to form your own opinion. And then once you get that opinion, if you want to come back, please let us know, because we like discussing this thing. Yeah. So to say all that, I wasn't bored with the movie. It has a lot of actors that I like in it, and I'm glad that these actors are getting, what should we say, a bigger notice because they're tied to Christopher Nolan. Now, that's not to say that these actors don't get their due diligence or whatever, but Corey Hawkins is an actor who I first saw him in Straight Outta Compton. I've seen some of his clips from the version of Macbeth with Denzel Washington, where he plays Macduff. Fucking great stuff. He's a great actor, and I'm glad that people got to see his versatility in this. He plays such a fucking scumbag. He is so good in this film. And also, shout out to James Remar. Please give James Remar more work. All that to say, certain aesthetics, certain set pieces, certain performances and dialogue lines and musical beats, it's a great stuff. I'm going to go, I'd say I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Yeah.
Because, yeah, I was thinking 3 out of 5. So
I'll give it a 6. I'd say I'd give it a 6 out of 10 or 3 out of 5, whichever way you want to parse it. So yeah, the best way to kind of put it is that it's a perfect gateway movie to inspire an adult audience into going back and reading Greek myths and watching other stories or hearing other renditions. And as we have done several times throughout this, we will plug Natalie Haynes' amazing podcast, Stand Up for the Classics. You can find it on Spotify, everything else like that. New season of it is coming out. As of this recording, it's coming out, I think, next week, which by the time we release is probably be out 2 weeks ago.
Yay! Can't wait.
And also, you mentioned a couple of names here in the podcast, but the likes of Madeline Miller, Jennifer Saint, Natalie Haynes herself. I haven't read her stuff, but Pat Baker.
Pat Baker's is brilliant. You have to borrow those from me at some point. They are so good.
Yeah, and don't let it turn you off the fact that these are female writers giving the female perspective of the legends of these characters. It is a great both sides of the equation thing to kind of go with the classical version versus these new, I won't say feminist, but I would say female perspectives on things. And it will make you go back and you will read this stuff kind of going, oh, fuck it, it was there the whole time. I just didn't see it, you know?
Yeah. I would say as well, on top of that, like, you know, obviously there's all the different translations and iterations of the Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
If you find the Odyssey intimidating, Puffin Classics did do in their kids clothbound classics. Mm-hmm. They released a version. It's much skinnier. It's a highly abridged version because it's for the kids classics, but it's a beautiful edition as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a number of different translations, whether they're in verse or whether they're in prose. But also look to the other classics. You know, Euripides' Trojan Women is brilliant. Ovid's Heroides, or there's letters from Penelope mm-hmm. to Odysseus, although he would have been Ulysses because Ovid was Roman, are brilliant. Like, a lot of them seem inaccessible. Mm-hmm. I would say try it.
Yep, absolutely. You get a good translation of it and you're done. And as well, if you want the story of the Odyssey, but in a modern way, I can't believe I went this long without stating it. Oh, brother, where art thou? Go watch that movie. It is a fantastic adaptation of the Odyssey.
Yeah. And if you want another narrative version of the Odyssey, but you're not inclined to read women's works, Stephen Fry has done it for you. Mm. I wasn't a big fan of it the first time I listened to it. I have started re-listening to it, mm-hmm. and I'm liking it more the second time through. So yeah, I mean, Stephen Fry has done the whole Greek mythology thing. Mm-hmm. I do wonder if he's going to do the Aeneid. I hope he does.
I don't think he will, because he's kind of done it in the Odyssey.
Yeah, but I want.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, so this has been a really, really long podcast. It's over 3 hours. If anyone has listened through this to the end, hello.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a very different type of podcast for us because it was not Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
And, the format may not have been the best format we could have done, but it's the only one that we could really think of doing. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback. And particularly if you'd like to hear us do this type of thing again.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other films that we go to see or TV shows or whatever. So if you want to rambling every now and again on a completely different topic, or particularly the reason why specifically we did this rambling is because we ramble in our normal episodes so much about Greek mythology. They just seem to make a lot of sense. But yeah, so until I don't know what episode comes before this. I don't know what episode is coming after this. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.